Hi guys, I'm Danny Flaherty. I am an actor and a musician. I've been friends with Paul for a really long time. We've been on the struggle bus of acting for a long, long time together now. I'm so glad to be able to talk with him today on his show, Points of Experience.
Danny is one of the first friends I met in this business. He was actually he was the, not that I'm ass catching, but he was kind of the rival. He was like my Gary in a way. He was always the guy doing the thing, and he was like the cool kid who was booking and working, and I really looked up to Danny, even though he was younger than me, and I just really was envious of how himself he was and how truthful he was and how authentic. And he was working and booking, and I was like, this is the person who's booking it. Why? I'm going out for the same things. Why is he booking it? And it was because he was talented. It's because he's good at what he does. He has worked so consistently as an actor, and he really, in this episode, talks about the realities of what it's like, even being a hardworking journeyman actor, working with some of the best in the business. I mean, he was one of the leads on the MTV show Skins. He's worked on countless series. He was in The Wolf of Wall Street. He was one of the leads in The Americans. The Trial of the Chicago 7 with Aaron Sorkin, and countless other amazing films. Check out GOAT if you haven't seen it. Brock was also in that. King Jack. One of my favorite people. Someone who really breaks down the reality of what it's like to be an actor, especially in New York. And I'm just glad that we were able to have a really truthful, authentic conversation. Danny Flaherty coming up. It's getting warmer now. Like, it is kind of the first time that I'm like, because I went home for Christmas and everything, and I was we should have met up, man. But
it doesn't matter because I had COVID anyway.
Oh, shit, man. Is that the first time you had it?
That was my second time having it. It really wasn't that bad, but you know what? It was weird because like the first time I had it, I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. And then this time when I got COVID, all I wanted to do was eat. And I was very lethargic, so I just sat on my couch. I played Rust for like hours on end and ate so much food that I actually ended up gaining 9 pounds, which is so messed up. But yeah, so now I'm on the journey to lose that 9 pounds I gained. So I'm really chubbed up in the face right now.
So honestly, man, when I went home for Christmas, my mom just like, there was no sense of like how much can you consume in a day. It was just like, I got this, you have to eat it. And there was going to be an immense disrespect if I didn't eat all the food. So I'm in the process of losing 10 pounds right now myself. But I wanted to say earlier too, we were talking about LA and like the infrastructure, things in the water. There was something I wanted to say. Jersey gets more water. I can't remember, so there's no point in going back to it. But yeah, that was pretty gnarly.
Jersey, when it floods here, it floods really bad, man. Like, and I think we're just so used to it that it just doesn't really faze us. Like, my whole parking lot in my apartment complex turns into like a pool, and there's just so much leaves and crap that gets caught in there, so it just doesn't drain, and it's like, oh, it's so bad.
I miss it, honestly. I mean, this was for anyone who doesn't know, LA, we just had like a crazy storm of sorts, and it was like people were surfing the streets and stuff, but it was
badass.
It was not. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I remember now. I went on a run, and normally because it's like so dry and it's like a desert out here, that when I left, everything was dead, and when I came back, everything is lush and green, and it was
really?
Like, oh,
wow.
This is what it's supposed to look like. Well, I guess it is a desert. It's never really supposed to look like this, but it was nice. Like, it was really cool and nice to see all the greenery back and the shrubbery and the stuff that you never see. Like, even on the driving down whatever the 405, the 405. I still don't even know the highways here, man. Whatever it is, like all in the hills, you see like all the green, and that was like, I was like, okay, that I can mess with.
It's nicer than coming from Jersey too, because here, I mean, everything's just dead, and we haven't had any snow, and it's just terrible. It's like every day is either gloomy. And it's just like, it's like getting hot too. Like the other day it was like 60 something. I was like, why is it 60 degrees? And I'd rather be cold and snowing right now than be sweating because I put on too many layers when I left the house. You know what I mean? But it's just unpredictable. It's annoying.
Do you not enjoy? I have a thing where I like my preferred like outfit of the day is like a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a jacket over the hoodie and jeans. That's like my preferred go-to outfit.
Yeah, I do like a t-shirt, flannel, jacket.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar, and that's why I can't wear any of that out here. I wear board shorts. I feel like such a freaking like LA wannabe. I wear just board shorts and tank tops.
I didn't think about that. You probably miss your hoodies so much, right?
Yeah, I try to wear them. I mean, this has been cold for the last 2 months, and now coming up in a week, it'll be back to normal.
I have so much sweatshirts, and
weather.
when it gets into spring and it's like sweatshirt season is ending, I always get so sad. I'm like, I have to put all these away. This sucks, you know.
Well, dude, I love. You told me you got that for $5, which is an absolute steal.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't want to like really say I support Wish.com, but I mean, I literally got it, or AliExpress, one of those.
AliExpress,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, I saw. You know, I was looking up enamel pins actually for a friend, and like this just popped up. And I was like, oh my gosh, $5, all right. And the shipping was like $3. So in total, it was like $8. But whatever, it's actually like good quality. I'm surprised. I thought it was just gonna be like an iron-on.
Yeah.
But I've washed it like 5 times now, and it's like it hasn't gone away.
It looks fresh, man.
Yeah.
I just bought.
Really
I pre-ordered. Did you ever play Final Fantasy XI, the MMORPG? No.
I never played 11, but you know, I've watched people play it, and
yeah.
So.
Yeah,
well, what it's about.
I think it's the 20th anniversary of the game, I think, and they just released like Square released a bunch of merch for the game, and I bought like a like a jacket that has like all of the cities on the back of it, and I was like,
that's cool.
I'm going to shell out the money, ridiculous money, for this jacket because it's everything that I want to wear. All right, before I go down this rabbit hole of all this bullshit we're going to talk about, do you remember the first time we actually met?
I don't know. I'm guessing it was on an audition. Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
Was it I feel like it was for a commercial or something.
Oh, well, now you're going to throw my... no, because it could have been for a commercial, too, now that I think about it. But the first memory that I have, that I have ingrained in me is... And I remember only because you wound up booking the film, was for the movie you did, Contest.
Oh, yes!
So, I can distinctively remember, like, there was... and I don't remember a lot of auditions like this, but I remember there was, like, a ledge... Like, it might have been at that place, all right, the network,
it was at
maybe?
That place, yeah, okay, it was at that place that there's the one side with the commercials and the other side, and there's, like, the 2 doors, and they're kind of like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, is that, God, 430?
It's definitely not there anymore, but, I mean...
Yeah, whatever it was. But I remember, so we're going to have a little funny story here. So for anybody here who doesn't know who Danny is,
Those cool metal benches.
Yes,
Sorry, I interrupted you, but
well, no, it's fine. Listen, Danny is a phenomenal actor, and the first time I remember meeting you because I feel like I had seen you a couple of times before, and we were with the same manager, Shirley Grant.
I remember seeing you all the time, and
But for you, like, I knew who you were probably before you knew who I was, because when I signed with Shirley Grant, like, there was only a handful of pictures that were like framed, very nice.
Skins picture of me on the fence, like, oh, I hate that picture
strategically
so much.
Placed right there to let you know, like, all right, here's our workhorses, and it's you.
When you walked in down the steps and that thing was there, and I always be like, oh God, that's the worst picture ever.
It was you, and it was the Jonas Brothers, and Dasha at the time, who was on Orange is the New Black. I remember it was like, all of you were there, and I remember in the beginning when I was starting out, this is my first manager at the time who was in Jersey. We had the same manager, and like I'd have to go there a couple of times starting out to do my auditions. Like you'd go to their little room there, and Dave would tape us.
Blue room, yeah. Yeah,
that blue room. So I knew who you were, and I think maybe I'd seen you a couple of times, but the first time we actually talked, I think was either you came up to me or I must have came up to you. I'm not gonna there's no way you knew who I was.
I think I saw you a lot too, and I would recognize you just from like seeing you at auditions. There was a couple of people I used to recognize like that too. There was another friend I used to have, Graham. I used to see him at auditions all the time, and then he just fell off and I never saw him again, and I'm guessing he quit acting. But like, you know, you meet those kids on auditions that you just like, hey, what's up? Like, how's your day going? But I remember you coming to me. I think you said, hey, we have the same manager or whatever.
Probably.
And we just started talking, and I think, we just became friends. Like, it was like, I don't know, it was like, you know, a click.
Well, you probably had your skateboard, and I probably had my longboard at the time.
I think it was something like that. And I was like, oh, you skate, dude? Because I do that to everybody. If I ever see someone, oh, you skate, bro? Is it sick riding the streets of New York? Yeah.
Honestly, that was kind of my life, and that was it was cool to like do that, and I really miss that camaraderie of meeting all the people, because even at Abrams, you'd sit in like for voiceovers at the time. It'd be like all of us, like me, you, Josh Flitter, like all those, you know, all the same people always hanging out, and like you'd get to meet people, and that kind of doesn't exist anymore. And you would just
talk, and you'd be like, oh, and everyone would be like, yo, break legs, like I hope you get it. And it was all like very like, everyone was nice back then, I feel like, you know what I mean?
It kind of, all of that disappeared with COVID for sure, but also like,
even before COVID, though, I felt like it was kind of pushing into that self-tape realm also.
Yeah.
Even before COVID, because I remember I wasn't in the city for like a very long time. And then the first time I had to go back into the city was to go meet Aaron Sorkin for the callbacks for Chicago7. And it was my first time in the city in a really long time. And I was like so surprised because when I initially auditioned for that, I self-taped. I feel like they were only doing callbacks were like in person at that time. Yeah. And then once COVID hit, it was like everything is freaking online. It was so crazy.
I'm torn living out here because I despise driving. Like, I don't like driving really, and I mean, the public transit doesn't exist. But if I was in New York, I would give up self-tape in a minute to just go into the office to like have that energy too. Because here's the other thing, and it's especially it makes a lot of sense, especially for having you on, because you were someone who, like, if there was something I went out for, you more than likely booked the fucking thing that I wanted to book. All the time. Like, I remember going in for so many things, and like I was like, oh yeah, Danny got it. That makes sense. I remember going in for the Americans. And here's a funny story about the Americans at that time is I remember I went in, it was at Telsey, whatever it was. I remember it was there, and Ross Meyerson was casting it, and I go in, and he's just started reading the wrong sides. He was reading a completely different character, and it was for your. And I'm like, do I say anything? Like, he was going down for a while, and
that sometimes, right? Like, that's really funny that you say that.
And then he was just, oh man, he was reading. Actually, what it was, he was reading my lines. He was reading mine instead of the. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
I remember being in his office one time, and he like handed me this script, and I was like, oh, this isn't for the right project. And he goes, oh, it's not. You know what? Just audition for it anyway. And so I just like read for this role, and I think that ended up being like Merowitz Stories, and I had that like really small part in Merowitz Stories on Netflix. I literally said one word, which was just like, oh, bye. Like, that was it. Like, but I just found it so funny. He was like, oh, we weren't supposed to read for that, but whatever, just read for it. It's like so weird.
That's the other thing too about going in person that it's completely gone.
Things like that can happen, you know,
all the time. Or they realize you're not right for the role you're reading for. They're actually read for this, and that's happened to me so many times. Yeah,
and they'll switch the roles on you. You know what it is too? It's the energy also. Like, you do a self-tape now, right? And I do it with my girlfriend, and, you know, she'll be like, oh, I didn't like that take, like, do it this way. And then to her, I'm like, you know, it's my girlfriend, so I'm like, no, I disagree with you. You know, you would never say that to a casting director. You would just switch right away and do it, you know? And also that nervous energy you got right before you went in the room, it kind of like helped you, like, I don't know, like, to me, it helped surge me, you know, and get me excited, and like, it helped me really transform into the role, where when I do it at home, I it's not that I don't care as much, but I don't have that same like passion and like nervousness that you had when you originally like went into a room, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, the stakes are so much higher. You see all of your competition there. It's so, and you know you only have 1 or 2, maybe 3 if it's crazy chances at the thing. You have to walk in ready.
Yeah, and it's funny you said. Sorry to cut you off about like me getting things over you, and you said you see so many people there. Like I would go into auditions sometimes, and I would see like Rory Culkin sitting there, and I'd be like, okay, well I got this part. I was like, well, I should just go home now. Like,
there's so many times. I remember it's like a classic Hollywood story in a way, but I remember going in for like, it was either Spider-Man or one of those equivalent things that they were casting in, like probably the Andrew Garfield ones. When I remember. I had no chance, like, and they already had, like, people, like, they had, like, you know, Nat and all those people were already in there, and I'm like, there's just, I know I'm not even being, they're just, like, filling a quota right now from the agencies or whatever, and...
I feel like that happens to me all the time now, especially, too. It's crazy.
Yeah. We were talking about it with one of those auditions that you had done recently. I'm like, you're freaking killing it, man. Like, it's such a competitive time right now because I feel like a lot of these studios and the networks and the shows, they don't want to take a risk in any capacity. So I feel like they're casting things up front and they're like, all right, let's put this offer out. Let's get some insurances, because similarly to you, I have had so many pins for things and I'm like, I killed this. And they're like asking me it's getting far. And then it gets to a point where they're just like, oh, we released your pin next time. I'm like, what? And then I haven't seen many of the things come out, but like, I think, and I can't be certain about this, I think I auditioned for the role Elijah Wood is playing in frickin' Yellow Jackets.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, that 100% was an offer that they had in mind, and I'm like, this is just someone, you know, and I'm also like way too young.
That's happened to me, like in this Paramount Plus show called Tulsa. It's about, Sylvester Stallone, and he gets out of prison and he goes to Tulsa. Yes. There's a guy there who runs a dispensary, and, you know, I auditioned like 2 times, and they were like, okay, you're on hold for these dates. Like, I'm so close. I'm like, all right, they're talking about contract stuff. I'm like, oh, I got this, you know? And then, like, last minute, I find out the person that I'm up against is Martin Starr. I'm like, how am I going to compete with Martin Starr? Yeah. You know, and if you don't know who Martin Starr is, he was on the show Freaks and Geeks. He's one of the teachers in the new Spider-Man movies. He's a great actor. He's in
Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite actors. It's great. But it's like, you already had him in mind. How am I supposed to compete with that? So I feel like I'm just the fall guy. So they're like, oh, yeah, you know, we have this other actor. So if you can take some less money, we'll give it to you, or we'll give it to the other. I feel like they use this as leverage.
Yeah, you know that's a whole part of it, too, is that they know it's a money thing as well. And I've seen that. I have friends who I have been... like, they're trying to make them take the deal, and then they give them that language like, this is all we have. Take it or leave it. We have somebody else if you don't want to do it. And it's been such a hard time for so many actors where, like, I really find it hard for most people who aren't, like, getting offers regularly to say no to something like that. It's really hard. For you, do you feel like it's... because does it make you feel angry about the process, like when you're that fall guy, or do you consider it like, at least I'm playing the game and it's at least I'm getting in with the people, and like, do you see the value in that way?
I feel super lucky that, like, I'm not sour about it, because I'm super lucky that I'm at this point in my career where I am being put against these bigger actors. You know? So I'm very lucky to even be in the same... I don't want to say same room because we're not in rooms anymore, on the same spreadsheet as these guys, you know what I mean? I'm considered in the same PDF file as these guys, you know? So just being at the point in my career where it's at, where I am being considered, and I'm getting this far on auditions, you know, I just, in the back of my head, I just have to say, you know what? There's going to be a part for me eventually, and it's going to come, and I just have to wait until that part fits me like a glove. And anytime I don't get a part, I just go, okay, well, that wasn't the one, you know, move on to the next one. And I just feel very lucky and fortunate that I am in talks, you know, people know who I am, because there's many actors out there who are just starting, or, you know, have been doing it for years, and they don't even get to the call where they say, hey, you're on hold. You're going to have a COVID test next week and probably shoot from blah, blah, blah. Those are the calls that I love. It's like, hey, you're on hold and you're going to get a COVID test next week, possibly.
Yeah.
Like, yes, let's go. You know what I mean?
A paid COVID test.
Yeah, I just had that for an episode of Blacklist, and like literally last minute they went with someone else. But which I was like, it sucks too because I took off a week of work because I called I work at a restaurant right now. I'm doing pizza and stuff like that, and called like, hey, I might like be shooting an episode of Blacklist, so I might not be available these dates. So he like filled in my hours already, like my doubles and stuff for that week. And I had COVID the week before, so I didn't week for the COVID, and then I missed the whole other week of work, and I was so pissed. I'm like, I'm sitting here like broke. I still have to pay my dues, so it's like
that's a crazy thing as well. And
I've been holding off on paying my dues because I haven't booked anything, and I was like, well, once I book something, then I'll pay them. But like,
it's a very weird world because I do both. Like on camera and I do voiceover, and I had booked this thing that I was doing voiceover for Disney, and I got an email from my agent saying your dues came back not high or whatever it says, whatever the error is, and they're like, can you see what the problem is? And it was because I was like, isn't there like a COVID like pandemic protocol in where they were excusing your dues for a while?
They don't have that anymore, but
it just ended. I was like, oh my god, now I got to pay all this money I hadn't been paying. It's just tough. And for you, I starting out, I always I got to see what success was really early in someone who looked like me and was around my age. I think I'm a bit older than you. But I got to see like what success was, and it made it seem it was like two parts. I was very envious of like what you were doing because I remember we met like whatever, going back to all that, you had like booked this film, but you had already done skins and you had been doing things like that already. And did you feel like that skins role fit you like a glove at the time? And did that come like at a point where you thought like, no way?
At the time, it's funny because, okay, so I'll bring you back a little bit. Excuse me, I'm a little sniffly. It's cold here in Jersey. I started acting when I was 10, right? So I did a play at Bergen Community College. Actually, no, my sister heard about this acting class called New Stars on the radio, and she really wanted to go. So my mom took us, and you had to audition to get into the class. And I got into the class, and then my sister didn't. And it was like a 3-week class, and then at the end of it, they have agents and managers come in, and it's kind of like a showcase at the end, correct? You know what I mean? And I don't know why I just said correct. Anyway, so I'm fumbling right now. So anyway, so I did this acting class for like weeks. My sister didn't get in. She was pissed that I got in over her.
So she wanted to go to this and you just happened to be there, or you also wanted to do it?
She wanted to go to it, so my mom took us. I have 3 other siblings, right? So we just went everywhere together because my mom owned a bakery at the time, and my dad was working constantly, so we had to go everywhere. So my sister wanted to go do this, so I was there, and I was like, hey, I'll go audition too. Why not? They had you read a little insert for a McDonald's commercial, and I went in there, and I was like, oh, I want my Happy Meal, blah, blah. And I was like full of energy, and they were like, oh, wow, like, we like this kid. And then my sister, they were like, no, she's like, she didn't make it. So my mom was like interested then. She was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, you know, he made it. Okay, I'll pay for him to do the course. Anyway, I did this course, and the woman at the end of the course, she wanted to be my manager, and she wanted me to move out to LA. And my mom was like, I can't do that. I have 3 other kids. I own a bakery. Like, no, it's not happening, you know? So that's when we started looking around the area, and that's when we stumbled upon Shirley Grant, who you were with at one point.
Yeah,
because she's
well,
in
I'm
Teen
still
Up
with
in Jersey.
Stephanie. I'm still with Stephanie, and that's But that's so you sought out, or your mom sought out, like a manager or an agent in Jersey, and that's how they found.
I kept bothering her after the class. I was like, Mom, they said I was good. Like, come on, like, find me something. And the reason my mom knew about Shirley Grant was because when I was a baby, when I was 1 year old, I was signed with Shirley Grant. Well, I wasn't signed, but I went on an audition. My mom took me on an audition, and all the other babies at the audition fell asleep. but I stayed awake. So I got a call back, and I was like this close to getting some like diaper commercial or something.
Oh my God.
But it was too much to go into the city for my mom. She actually forgot to sign in when she got there, so they never, like, they didn't take her for like 3 hours, and then she realized, oh, I had to sign in. And she was like, never again, never again. But I came really close apparently to that. So she knew Shirley Grant through that. So I booked Shirley Grant, and I didn't book anything with Shirley Grant. So what I started doing is, I'm like 11, 12 at this point. I'm going on the internet and I'm looking up NYU college films. So I'm looking up auditions for NYU college films on like Backstage and all that. And I just start doing all of these college films to build up my resume. They're free. I'm not getting paid, but I keep getting cast because, you know, they're looking for kids and there's not that many that audition for those. Our parents are going to let them do for free. And I remember I did this one called Veterans Day. It was about a guy in a nursing home, and he keeps thinking he's seeing his grandchild, but he's not. And there's a scene where I have to eat a sandwich. So they just took 2 pieces of bread and a Kraft single and put it on the bread and had me eat it. And the guy, he was old. He was really old. He kept forgetting his lines. So he had to do the scene over and over and over again. I swear to God, I ate about 20 cheese crafts and bread.
Oh my God.
I felt so sick after the scene was over, and I went over to a bucket and just started puking in this bucket. I'm like 11 years old. And I'm like, Mom. So my mom, I mean, I don't want to get my mom in trouble, but my mom used to, like, she had to work, right? So she would go drop me off with these college kids and then leave. And just leave me there with these college kids. So it was like free babysitting for her. So she was like, oh, sick. Yeah, like, okay, you're going to watch him and film whatever. Okay, you know?
Yeah, kind of brilliant if you think about it at the time, you know? At the
time, it was a little safer. Now I don't think that would fly, but...
No, but it's also different because it was student films, and I doubt they were even doing... they were probably all non-union.
It's all guerrilla, yeah.
So
that built up my resume, though, and then... that I finally got a job with Shirley Grant. It was a voiceover for the National Spelling Bee. And my mom was about to stop because I wasn't getting a lot of auditions. She was like, you can't do this anymore. Like, you know, it's not feasible. I'm sorry. I can't keep, like, bringing you into the city. And then I booked this National Spelling Bee commercial. And she was like, she saw the paycheck. And she was like, okay, I think you could keep doing this for a little bit, which is really funny. And then she would, like, not be able to take me to the city because she had, like, you know, work, and then she would like be like, Matt, my older brother, like, can you take him in? And he had lacrosse. So he'd be like, no. So I just started hopping on the train by myself and going to the city. And she couldn't yell at me. She'd be like, where were you? Like, she can't stop me. She, you know, had the bakery to run and stuff. And so at like 12 o'clock, I just would go into the city by myself. And then I didn't work for a really long time. I didn't book anything. I booked a couple voiceovers for a cartoon and a Jeep commercial, but that was it. And then I didn't book my first, like, real big thing until Skins.
Wow. So that was, like, the first big on-camera, and it's a lead role, one of the main characters from an IP that already had been insanely successful in the UK.
So there's a long... so to end the point where we started, I know it's been long-winded, but yeah, I felt like at that time it fit perfectly because I walked in, I got a call, and they were like, hey, they want to see you for the role of Stanley in Skins. They're already in second callbacks. So I came in late, and there was only one other kid there to play the role of Stanley. And I feel kind of bad to this day because I kind of came in and just like...
He thought he had it.
And I kind of just like, I came in and I did these audition like tests, I guess, with the other actors who are basically already cast. Yeah. And they liked my test a lot, and they just kind of squeezed me in. And then like, it kind of just fell into place. It felt right. It felt like, it just felt... you probably feel this too. You get a role, and you like sometimes you want it really bad, or you'll just get it out of the blue, and it feels like it was kind of like meant for you. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll miss out on roles, and then I'll see the project later on, and it's really shitty and crappy, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, that wasn't for me.
You dodged
so
the bullet.
Skins was my first big thing, and it was great, actually, that it was a television show and not just like a film.
And on MTV at the time, where it was one of the biggest, like that was at the time where MTV was still like electric.
Yeah, they literally they had Jersey Shore. That was like their most provocative thing at the time.
Yeah.
And then we came in, obviously, and they canceled us after the first season. The Parents Television Council had a fit over our show. Even though it wasn't that bad. I mean, the stuff on Jersey Shore is worse than the stuff we had on our show.
A light years worse.
But they were going to pay Jersey Shore a bunch more money, and they had a bunch of new shows that were lined up to come out, and they wanted to continue doing Teen Wolf, and Teen Wolf was getting more expensive too. And then they were getting all these calls from the Parents Television Council, like, this show was bad. Like, I think John Travolta at the time ran the Parents Television Council, and they were getting threats of being sued for child pornography. And at the time, I think MTV was just like, all right, we don't want to deal with this for another season. Like, we'll just put the money into the other shows and then not even have to deal with it. Like, let them win, whatever. So we got canceled, which was kind of good, though, because then I went on straight from there, and then I booked Americans, which I ended up doing. But that was my first big show, and it was great to have this TV experience and really get to learn the ropes about how it all works and stuff. Because before, I had practice in front of the camera doing like the NYU films, but I didn't have like the on-set hustle and bustle, like the real deal. And being so young at the time, I mean, I was senior in high school, and I feel like I just matured at that time. I feel like if I did more projects when I was younger, I would have missed out on some of my middle school years and stuff. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't really hit the ball until I was 17,
I think there's a lot of people, especially child actors, who their personality then becomes actor. Like their personality is dependent upon the job that they did. Whereas I see it in like someone like you and even like someone like me. Like our identity is defined by our group of friends and the things that we did, hanging out, skateboarding, playing Yu-Gi-Oh, all those things that like I find way more valuable for me when I'm playing a character than there you go, dude. I got magic cards like laying all around me too.
I got
but
shit
I find that stuff way more valuable as an actor, having had that like life experience. I mean, I didn't start until I was in college. I didn't even think about acting until I was in college. But for you at that time, like I had seen everything that you were doing, and I saw.
Sorry, it just started like pouring, and it just flew me off guard. Sorry.
But I remember seeing Skins, and I remember seeing you all the time. Like you said, a constant callbacks and commercials and everything. And I remember watching Skins, and I was like, this dude's not just some punk kid. He's also really freaking good. And that role, I felt like was like the role that I would dream of for like someone like you or someone like me. I mean, the character's kind of like experiencing all this stuff for the first time. He's singing in a band. He's kind of like this fish out of water, a little bit geeky, a little bit like also the girls kind of find him interesting because he's different than everybody else. Like I was like, that's like the role you want to play, like on a show like that. That's the role you want to play.
Because it imitates life so much, right? We kind of are both that kid in high school probably who was a little bit like, we're like, a little bit not in the most popular, but still can talk to everybody, like theater and stuff like that. So, and so life kind of imitated art in that way. And that's why I think it was just a perfect fit at the time, because I'm just coming out of high school. I'm on my senior year of high school. I'm going through all those awkward stage and situations. You know what I mean? So like it just kind of flowed into each other. And it was great when we got to improv, but we didn't get to improv that much. It was like, well, there was basically two versions of that show, right? There was the version for Canada, and then there was the version for MTV. So we would shoot like a whole scene, and then they would be like, okay, this time we're gonna like redo the entire scene, but stick exactly to the script, because we need one that has no improv, no cursing in it for MTV. But like if you watch, like I have a version of my episode on DVD, and it's from Canada, and it was on like their HBO equivalent, and so it's an hour long. There's no cuts for commercials, and there's cursing. Wow. And it's almost like watching a completely different show. It's actually crazy. And I remember actually they won an award in Canada for whatever their Golden Globes or whatever theirs is. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but they won like Best New Show Award or something like that in Canada. For the show, but here in the U.S. it got
But having done that though, still, do you feel that leveraged you for everything else that you were doing? Did you feel like that kind of put you in the running for certain things?
That definitely boosted me to, you know what it was too, is because they look at me and they go, okay, well, he has experience. He knows. That's a big thing too. Like, if you're going to go and shoot something, sometimes like on these shows, like here's an example. I did Chicago Med like 2 years ago now. And I did the audition like 4 days before they started shooting. And I really think they went with me because they saw my resume and they're like, okay, this kid's going to be able to come in here. He's going to be able to shoot everything in 2 days. He's going to do his lines, and then we're going to get him out in like 2 days. We don't have to keep him in a hotel for a whole week, you know?
Yep.
And that actually ended up happening. They had me signed up to film for like 5 days, but I ended up doing all my scenes in like 2-3 days. So they were like, oh, we're going to save money on the hotel he's in and shit. Let's get him home, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like just having that experience, obviously resumes, that's why you have a resume. But I feel like they do take that into account. You know, oh, he did Law and Order. He's in all these shows. He knows how TV works.
Yeah.
We have something that's shooting tomorrow, like an episode of Law and Order. We know he's going to be able to do it because he's been experienced. And I feel like a studio is more likely, obviously, to cast someone like that and take a risk with someone like that than take a risk with someone who has not a big resume. Oh, is he going to take 6 takes to do this small TV role? You know what I mean? If it's just like the small.
Especially with the self-tapes right now. I had a similar thing happen with The Rookie where I guess it was the end of last year or something. I did a guest star on The Rookie, and I didn't even have a callback. They just booked me straight from the first tape, and I was like, oh.
That's what happened with me in Chicago Med, too, yeah. I didn't have any callbacks. Just think about that, actually. I don't think I've gotten callbacks in... I literally just send in a tape, and then it's either
yes or
I
no.
get a call saying, hey, you know, we need you to do a COVID test, and that call.
Yeah.
I love how that's like a thing now that you almost got the part if you need to go take a COVID test.
Yeah, because they can't risk it if you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's a very weird thing, and you know what it reminds me of, and this is something that I guess we can reminisce on. You remember, and I kind of hated it and loved it at the same time. You remember Mark Sachs's office down on like whatever Canal Street or wherever that was? He had a very interesting scenario, and I'm sure because you go in and you're not even being taped; you're just reading with him. Yeah. And then it's kind of like an assembly line where he goes, all right, go walk over there if you got a call back. And then the assistant would schedule your call back with the producers. Or you just like say, okay, thanks, bye. So you knew right there if you had a call back.
Oh, ruthless the way he did it. But I actually loved it.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it was like, that's the thing with like the Blacklist was like, I was up for it. And I'm like, okay, am I going to get it? I got to tell my other bosses at the pizzeria. Like, I got to know. I'm waiting. And I don't hear it until like 2 days before. And I'm like, what the hell? At least at that, you know right away. Instant gratification. Oh, I sucked. Okay, I'm going to go home. Or like, oh, I did good. I got the call back. Okay, let's go.
That is such a hard thing about
I was going to say, though, it's so hard. That's what, to bring back my point about like having a good resume. It's so hard now because of the way it's set up now that like if you're a new actor or you're just coming into it and you don't really have a resume and you're just sitting in one tape, it's going to be really hard for, well, especially in the TV world. I'm not saying the film world. The film world is a little different.
Yeah.
A director might see your tape, think it's amazing, and then want to take a chance on you because, you know, the film's going to take 2 months to shoot, whatever. Yeah. With the TV nowadays, though, with these small roles, fill in the gap roles kind of, I feel like they're not going to pick that new actor who's just out of college, who has nothing on his resume. They're not going to want to take the chance with him because it's all about money now and saving that money because ever since pandemic, I mean, it's just been wild. I mean, they have, in their budget now, they have to spend an extra X amount of dollars to have COVID testing on site and all that. Yeah.
It's like an extra, I remember reading it was like 20%, but that could be very wrong. Someone fact checked me on that, but you know, they have to account for that.
Yeah, so I feel like they account the way with casting now too. And, you know, they don't have callbacks. They don't have you come in ever. It's funny that a lot of these casting studios, they just shut down. Like, they didn't shut down, obviously, but they don't have their offices anymore that they used to have. Like, what? Think about all the casting offices in New York City and how many of them just removed themselves from New York City and now just do, like, what is in those empty buildings now? Like, what is that?
That's I think going to be it's going to be a whole revolution of I think real estate in New York City and Los Angeles. it's a whole new world where they don't have to spend that money on rent. Like
It's crazy.
Even before the pandemic, though, it was becoming so hard. Like I remember Sig de Miguel, he moved out of the city into like Hoboken or Jersey City. Like I remember having to I remember getting an audition and being like, "Oh, you got to go to Jersey City or Hoboken." I'm like, "What? I got to go out of New York that I'm paying thousands of dollars to live here so I can be where this is happening." They're like, "No, you got to go to Hoboken." I was like, "Okay." So it was already starting. Yeah. Well, when I first started, I used to drive to that parking lot right at the PATH train. If you know what I'm talking, there's a little thing right there.
Lackawanna,
And I used to park my car there and take the PATH in, and that's how I used to start going on auditions. But when I lived in Jersey still before I moved to the city.
See, I'm lucky. I got 2 train stations in my town, so if I miss the one, I can walk up the street to the other one.
So what is that a bus or is that actually a train that goes into the city?
No, train. Glen Rock. Well, I grew up in Glen Rock, New Jersey, and there was 2 train stations. There's one at the bottom of the town, and there's one at the top of the town. And actually, during the World Trade Center, during 9/11, because there's 2 tracks, they could express people really quickly and get them to Valley Hospital. So they were actually like, apparently, someone told me that. I mean, but a lot of people that were in the area, and they were expressing all the trains through Glen Rock and Ridgewood because there was the 2 lines, and they ran right through there, and Valley Hospital was really close.
And where does that takes you into the city though, or is that connected to the PATH train?
No, that takes you to Hoboken.
Okay,
and then you can take that to the PATH, or you can take that to Sea Caucus.
Yes, and then the Sea Caucus into 34th Street. Interesting.
Yeah, my aunt's a nurse, and she told me that story that they were like bringing a bunch of people into the trains because it was. I don't know how true that story is. So don't.
It could be completely bullshit.
My aunt's a little cuckoo, so.
No, that's wild. I have so many memories of you and my time in New York because I remember seeing like all of my auditions are defined even by like the people I remember seeing, and I remember one time me and you were at some audition for like some horror thing with like werewolves or something like weird building that maybe it was Bowling Misha. Like I have like so many like little snapshots of like audition things or like seeing you come in on your skateboard, like. And you're just constantly like assessing like, okay, who's going in for this right now? What are my actual chances of booking this freaking thing?
Well, it was nice to see you too on auditions. Like, it's always nice to see a familiar face, especially like seeing you, because I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, there's one non-weird kid here. I don't say weird kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say weird kid. I should say like very actor kid. You know what I mean? Like you had all those kids that would be with their moms, and they're very like, some of them were stuck up, you know. And I'm like, oh, I got someone I can talk to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, nice. Oh, I can bullshit with him about how this part sucks or how it's good, or you know, we can even read lines together. I feel like
that too. Yeah, we
did
it
twice.
Definitely. It's a whole other. I mean, sometimes you're sitting in there for 2 hours, and it's like it becomes
That's
a little
I didn't
bit
get the people
like
that were stuck up and didn't want to talk, or were just like, it's like, dude, screw yourself, bro. We're all in the same camp here. We're all stuck here. Just like chill out, bro.
Do your homework at home. Don't like learn all of your shit like in the waiting room. Like come and relax and be a person. And it's so funny because I feel like a lot of people like you, and I mean, we even went on to do a movie together, and I already knew you, and then we had a rapport.
That was so great because I remember that like we used to always talk about like, oh, I can't wait till we do something. I can't wait till we do something together. And
the weird way that happened was just crazy.
I was so excited about that.
That was such a fun like time because of with you and gosh, Siddiqui, rest in peace, man. Like it's just that whole thing is insane, but like the fact that we got to work together and it was just like us hanging out
too.
Yeah.
Literally just us hanging out.
And that's what I think made those scenes like real. You know, they were.
What's crazy about that though is I worked with Brock on Goat.
Yep.
Before that, and then he was producing that film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just crazy. What a small world, you know what I mean?
Well, Brock, that's how I got cast, was because Brock recommended me because I had been doing my series. And what's so funny is on that movie, The Garden Left Behind, which had like Ed Asner in it and Michael Madsen,
Yeah.
like very random of a movie. I remember I met with Flavio because he knew I had producing experience and he wanted me to help them raise money. And I remember him sitting down with like his pitch pack and everything. He's like, well, you know, we've got him, and we've got Danny Flaherty playing one of the main guys, so it's going to be like a really big deal. And I remember him saying that to me, like Danny's doing this? I'm like... And I remember Flavio was really tried, like, strong-arming me to, like, do certain things, and I was like, I'm only doing this because Danny's doing it. That's the only reason I'm doing this.
You should have been like, Danny, he's, like, kind of shitty. Are you sure you want to...
No, man, and so now even jumping back, dude, you, like, The Americans, how many seasons of that show did you do?
Yeah, that's a crazy story. I don't want to shit on anyone telling the story, but I'll tell you that story. So I got really lucky. I'm so lucky to be a part of that show. It's such a great show. Everyone on the show is great. The producers are phenomenal. The whole cast is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I started that kind of like right after Skins, and they did 5 seasons. So I did the first season. I got paid like an okay amount. Obviously pretty low tier.
Yeah.
Second season and third season, my contract never upped. And then the 4th season, they finally upped my contract because my agent was like, yo, like everyone's getting up, like why? And they actually ended up like writing me out.
I remember you saying that. I remember you telling me this.
And it kind of sucked because, you know, they just couldn't have, because, I mean, they're paying all these other actors so much money. I mean, you got Kerry Russell, you got, you know, and they're the main characters, right? They should be making that money.
Yeah.
But, like, they up my contract and then they start using me less to save the money. And it kind of sucked because it was like, oh, like, there's so many things my character could have done, you know? And they wanted to have, like, my character fall in love with the next door neighbor at one point. But there's a whole thing there that I can't get into on camera, I guess. But, I mean, I'll say it. I don't care. The girl who played the daughter, she actually had a boyfriend in real life at the time. And she didn't want to, like, kiss me on screen and stuff, and because she had a boyfriend in real life. But she also had, like, her parents were from Ireland. They were kind of strict to her mom. So it was just, yeah, kind of
That's wild.
But she's, I love Holly. She's amazing. She's an amazing actress. And I understand she was young at the time, too. And I was much older, you know.
Yeah.
She was, like, a freshman or sophomore in high school at the time. And I was, like, just out of high school. So I get it, and it's weird for her, but she had a boyfriend too. It's just like, I just was thinking, like, you want to be an actress, but you're not going to be able to, like, kiss another boy because you have a boyfriend? I was like, that's not going to work out, you know what I mean?
That's something.
But she didn't. She wanted to go to college. She was going to college early, actually, and she wanted to stop acting after Americans, actually, for a bit. She wanted to take a break. I think she still is doing a project now. Anyway, so they started writing me out less and less as they upped my contract more and more. And we did 5 seasons. And I remember them saying, yeah, I'm going to be in like 3-4 episodes in season 5. And I was like, oh, finally, like, nice. I was only in like 2 episodes in season 4.
Yeah.
Or 3 episodes in season 4. I was like, nice. I'm going to be in like 3, 4, 5 episodes this season. Like, they had like a dinner party episode, a Thanksgiving episode, and all this stuff. And then when it rolled around, the dinner party, it was like, oh, he's in the shower and he's going out with friends. And then me coming home for Thanksgiving episode was like, oh, he stayed at college. He didn't come back home from college. So that was, and I was like, you guys really wrote me out again? What the heck?
It's a lot of things you don't think about.
Yeah, and I've done all these things, and it's like, you know, I have people, this is really funny. I have people on Instagram sometimes message me and say like, hey, like, you know, will you help me pay off some of my college debt? Hey, can I borrow money or something like that? And I guess this happened a lot more when I was like doing the show, but like people think you make really big money in any show you're on. It's like, no, that's not true. I had a very small contract, and then when they up my contract, you know, and yeah, I make an okay residuals here and there, but I'm not making the money that the big stars are making. I'm not making $100,000 an episode. I'm making like $2,000 an episode, and then after taxes, it's like that's like a grand.
And 20%
you know what I mean?
agency and manager. We walk away with 58% of the thing.
Yeah, I can't even pay my rent with that.
Yeah.
So that's like the whole time I was acting, even after Skins and like during the Americans, I was working at a bagel shop, you know, for years. I worked at that bagel shop for 9 years. And like even right now, you know, I work at a pizzeria, Francesca's, in the town I live in, because I got to pay rent. I got to make ends meet. I have bills I got to pay, you know. And yeah, the residuals are good, and they come every 6 months whenever they come. But guess what I do with those residuals when they come, you know? I'll get like a check, I don't know, $3,000 or whatever, straight to everything I have to pay off because I'm in debt because I haven't paid anything forever. You know, so I love how people like, oh, I want to be an actor and I want to make a bunch of money. It's like, you got to love the art. You don't want to go into acting because you want to get rich. That it will never work that way. You know what I mean? If you want to do that, maybe go do TikTok or YouTube. You probably have a better chance of getting rich doing YouTube or TikTok, honestly.
Seriously, I mean, it's so, you couldn't be more true about that, and that's a reality I think a lot of people don't realize, and I'm glad we're talking about it here on this. It's like, I've never experienced more in my life. It was different when we were a little bit younger because it's like, obviously, I mean, you at the time were probably consistently working, so you probably had more money. But for me, I was hustling all the time. And then it got to a point where I was like, eventually I'm like, okay, I can live doing this because I started doing voiceover and stuff.
Yeah.
Then,
which you've been killing it, dude. And I see you all the time, and I get so excited every time. And like, even watching your show and everything on here, and I'm just like, I get so fucking pumped. Excuse my language. I get so pumped. You know what I mean?
Well, and I appreciate it, man. But for me, I had to make a conscious decision. I remember at the end of 2019, thinking to myself, like, if this keeps going in the direction it's going for me on camera, I'm not going to be able to keep doing this without getting a real job. I have to commit myself to voiceover and take a risk on doing that, and that's the risk I made because I was like, if I keep trying to do on camera this way, it's not paying me consistently enough. Yeah. And I got to do some cool independent films and stuff, but those pay, nickels and dimes. And, you're working with celebrities. I mean, I was working with Bill Hader and Ty Burrell and, all these, like, Kristen Wiig, like, you work with really great people, and then that either does something for you, even if you go to Sundance. I mean, I've been to Sundance a couple of times, and you're just like praying that somebody sees you and you meet somebody there, and then that leads to something else. But I mean, you, of all people, it's a very interesting thing to hear from because you have worked on so many cool things in various varying capacities. Like you got to do The Wolf of Wall Street, I
got super lucky in that, dude.
What a cool experience and a fun role too, even with John Bernthal. Like when I saw you in that, I was like, yes, Danny, yes.
You know what's crazy is I didn't even know I was going to be in it. No one called or said that they were keeping my scene in. So I figured, I was like, this movie is so long, they're going to just cut that scene out. There's no way it's making it in the film. Yeah. And I'm like sitting in the movie theater with all my bros, and like I just come up on the street and they just started howling. Like, yeah! And everyone's like, what is going on down there? Like we were sitting in the front too because it was like packed. I remember everyone was going to see the movie, and all our heads are like this, and they're all just screaming. And yeah, I got really lucky that because I have another friend who was in that movie, and his scene got completely cut. So, that was a long movie. They shot a lot of stuff. I got really, really lucky they kept my scene in. And it's funny because that's what people mostly know me by now, though.
Really?
Zip. Oh, yeah. Like, that's the one thing that people will be like, oh, you were in The Wolf of Wall Street? Like, they don't talk about skins. They don't talk about Americans.
The TrialOfTheChicago7? People don't
even talk about that. You know what's funny? And I want to say this, too. Like, so back to, like, the whole, like, money thing and that it's hard. And it really depends, too, because as an actor, you take some risks, right? So, like, I did this movie, GOAT.
And honestly, let me just say, that is, like, aside from having known you and Brock before that, both of your performances in that, I love. I know you guys went through hell making that movie.
Man. Yeah,
when I saw that movie, though, and I watched that movie, I was so happy because I was like, you see, like, these people are your friends and you know people, but I was like, that person's the real deal. I was like, that is the real deal. And honest to God, standouts in that movie are you and Brock.
Thanks, man.
You know what I mean, though? I mean that seriously. Like, I say that objectively. Oh my God, Of all the dudes, I mean, you're all, all of his buddies in the frat are great, but Brock takes it to a whole other level.
A whole other level, yeah.
And that role for you is like, it's you are the audience, because Nick Jonas's role, he's more of someone dealing with the consequences of who he is and who his family is, but you're the audience member in a way. You're the kid that everybody like assimilates with, kind of a similar role in Skins to a degree, but like you're the character that like I align myself with. A lot of the audience does.
I mean, yeah.
And like
especially young kids just going into frats at the time, and they can really connect to that character in a way too. And it's based off a real person. That's all a true story.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so my character Will, he's actually a real person in that. I don't want to spoil the movie, but that stuff like actually happened. Yeah.
Did you get to meet him and
it's
talk to him about any of
crazy.
that stuff or no?
Well, that's why I didn't want to say any spoilers.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So
You're
he's
right.
not. I mean, I'm just gonna say he's not alive.
Yeah.
Which is
gosh.
awful. But yeah, he.
I didn't. Why did I say that?
Well,
I should have put two and two together. I'm like in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, real person. Oh, I forgot.
I met Brad Land, the guy who wrote the book, who wrote the memoir, and I met the him, and obviously, he said like like you really nailed the character, like it really brought me back, and that was really special that he said that to me at Sundance. But I was gonna say, so like. It's crazy. So a movie like that, right, and it has Nick Jonas in it, and you take less pay because you take more of the back end deal, hoping that once it goes to movie theaters, you will get better off in the box office. You know what I mean? So it goes to Sundance, and Paramount picks it up. We go, oh, that's great, but Paramount picked it up to exclusively have it play for MTV. So Paramount picked it up just for MTV, and it was weird. So MTV got the rights to, like, if they were going to show it on TV, they were going to be the first ones to be able to show it on TV. And then they ended up not doing anything with the film, which is weird because Nick Jonas was in it. I guess it was too raunchy to actually, they decided it was too messed up to actually put on MTV, which makes sense. If you see the movie, go if you haven't seen it, you could probably find it online. I know it was on Tubi like a month ago for free and stuff. But, so it went to like streaming services like months and months and months down the road. Once MTV was finally like, we're not using it. So I lost out on like any of that going to movie theaters. So that's happened with Chicago 7. So Trial of Chicago 7, right? I took less pay because the cast was like amazing, right? I was like, I don't care if they give me $20 a day. You freaking get me in that movie. I was like, sign that contract right now. Because I went to the auditions. Yeah, I went to the auditions with Sorkin, and Sorkin basically was like, congratulations, you got the part. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Right on the spot?
So they had like callbacks, and then they let everyone else go, and then I was the only one left. And so after I left, I was like, okay, like, I really think I got it. And like, he was like, thank you so much. It was a really pleasure meeting you. Like, Aaron was just like, really pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming in so much, like, and I'm like, I got like maybe 6 feet out of the door, and then Dave called me and said I got it. But I had like this feeling right before I left the room. And, but anyway, so I was like, whatever the contract is, just sign it right now. Like, I don't care what the money, it could be no pay, just do it, But what happened with that was, so that was Paramount, and that was going to be in theaters all across America, all across the world, whatever. So I took a little less pay, and I would have more pay if it went to the movie theaters. But then Netflix, because COVID hit, movie theaters were closed. Netflix ended up buying it for, I think, $50 million. It cost $30 million to make, so they got whatever that money is, 20 mil back or whatever it is. And so my contract was like, I get a certain amount of money if it goes to box office. It never went to the box office. It went to Netflix. So I lost out on so much like possibility of residual. And to this day, the most money I ever made on like a back end for like it being in a movie theater was Wolf of Wall Street. Isn't that crazy?
What? Dude, that's insane. I mean, I'm sure it's got to be legal. I mean, fact that they did that.
My contract was stating that, it had to be box office. So, yeah, I got some residuals from Netflix, obviously, but, like, not the potential of it.
Of what it could have been,
I could be comfortable and not have to be, like, slaving away at the pizza place every day. I could maybe slave away, like, 3 days a week and be a little more comfortable than I am now. But that's just it. You just never know. And that's what producers, right? I mean, it's a gamble. Producers do the same thing. They gamble all the time. And that's what this industry is. And people think it's this glitz and glam of like, oh, well, I'm going to get famous. I'm going to get rich right away. And it's like, no, you're going to gamble and you're going to have to really want it. And you're going to have to stick with it. Because the minute that you step back, you're forgotten about. And that other guy's going to come in. So you got to keep sending those audition tapes in. You got to not give up. Because you got to have the consistency of, those casting directors seeing you all the time. And I think I'm really lucky like that too, because I never did give up. So since I was like, 12 until now, I'm 29, right? like going in and out of the city, all these casting directors knew me for a long time, and they seen me like, you know, really striving. So I feel like I got certain audition opportunities just from being around so much that like, you know, a casting director would call and say, oh, this part would be good for Danny. Like, I'm on their mind because they just see me constantly. And I feel like some auditions that like I got lucky getting, and it wasn't because of my manager or my agent, which they're great, but it was because I never gave up, and I kept going into those casting directors. I kept bugging them, hey, you got to get me something soon, but you know. And I think that consistency is very, very important in this business, and you just can't stop. I mean, look at you, right? Like, you were doing a lot of voiceover work, and then when you really strapped your boots on and was super consistent, and now you're blowing up with all this work, and it's amazing to see, you know.
Well, it's funny you say that, and just to your credit too, like, you are one of the most, in my eyes, one of the most shining examples of someone who has like just constantly been a journeyman of being involved in like high level projects. Like, you are what I define as an actor. A lot of people, they do a couple of things, they get lucky on one job, and they know how to say lines that are given to them on a script. They don't really know how to act, but you show up all the time, and you play an authentic character on all these like various like indie films, the things that like have heart and soul, like the thing that's not like, you know, it's not the... It's not the Disney Channel or the Freeform thing where you got to just be able to show up and look pretty and say a line. There's so many characters where you have to like dig deep and be a real freaking human being and have some sort of arc. And you've been doing that consistently. And so to hear you talk like that,
thank you, I appreciate it.
No, I truthfully mean it. And it's a very hard career, and it's, to me, so like, yours is one of the most prime examples of what it's like to act on camera. Like that, like, truthfully, to have been in multiple series, to been in huge, like, big budget things in a way, and to like, but the reality of what it's like day after day being an actor, and hoping these casting directors keep calling you back. And also, because you're at a point in your life where you started off in your teens and now you're approaching, you know, your 30s and stuff, you're transforming into a different person. And that's something that was different with me, is because like when we were starting out, we were kind of, at least what I was trying to be was like, I was trying to be like the skater, stoner type of dude. Like, and I got to play that a couple of times. But as I've aged, like, I'm not going to book those roles over the people they're looking for at my age now. And I had to have like
I'm
a real...
I'm like that now too, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a real understanding of like, okay, that worked for me then, and it was true to a degree of who I was, but now who am I today? And am I playing those roles? Do casting directors know me as who I am today? Because it's a very interesting time from your late teens to your late 20s.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. It's like, you know, I definitely am a totally different person than I was back then. And even on the level of like I'm definitely a better actor now than I was 10 years ago, obviously, right? Yeah. Just because, I mean, you grow older and you learn things, and like even with an audition tape, you start to get into ways of like, oh, I do this better now than I did 10 years ago. Stuff like that, you know? And just little techniques, like when I'm preparing for a role now, it's a lot easier. I'm just used to it now, I guess, where it came with more anxiety back then.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm lucky because now I am in that changing. So I'm getting roles that I used to never really get before. And I'm getting opportunities that I used to not get before to play different characters. They're not just throwing me the stoner role or, you know, trying to typecast me. I'm getting more interesting characters that I can transform into now. Yeah. And it's just very interesting to see with time and age how, I mean, your whole career path can change, right? And I look at older actors, and this is why I never get sour about, you know, not working at certain times, because I look at actors like, you know, J.K. Simmons or, you know, John C. Reilly, and you're like, wow, they didn't become really famous until they were in their late 30s. You know what I mean? Or
Bryan
they didn't
Cranston,
get that big opportunity until they were, you know, older. Yeah, like Malcolm in the Middle. You know what I mean? So there's always hope out there, kids. All right, never give up. You know, there's always hope.
It's one of those. It just helps to reiterate the idea that you have to, like you were saying, you have to love this, because if you don't love it, like if you can't,
you're gonna get jaded very quickly.
You get very jaded. And you know what also is too, man. And I'm sure you know this, and I actually really respect you for saying, you know, like, and being honest with me and with the show here, because a lot of people really try to play into this facade of being like, yeah, you know, I'm doing this and I'm an actor and I'm making this money and I don't have to like have like a survival job and things like that's so far. It's like, okay, oh, you have a trust fund. Your parents are helping you survive, because there's just no way. There's just no way to live and pay your own bills and to do all these things. Like for me, student loans, like it was so hard. So I really appreciate it, because it's so... The realistic like idea of trying to be an actor, there's so much stuff to be done, but if you don't love it, there's just so many people who can be an actor today.
And you know, you have your good years and you have your bad years, right? Like 2 years ago, I had a really great year and I got my health insurance. I still have it this year, thank God, knock on wood. But like, I know that life real well. I just made it, and I was like, "There's no freaking way," because I didn't work at all the past year. And I like just hung on by, I guess, like residuals and stupid things. But it's like really, you have to like. I hate those people who just, like you're saying, who are just like, I don't have to have a second job, and like, this is my life, and like, there is no plan B. It's like, you can have no plan B, but there's you got to still pay your rent. That is holding you up, and like you said, mommy and daddy or whatever it is, you know. And I feel like those people, you know, they're very lucky. That's all I'm going to say. They're very lucky. I wish I was in a situation like that. I would take it. You know, I wouldn't say no to a situation like that. So it's very interesting. But the life of an actor is really a struggle. And you even hear like from like even people that are really famous today, you know, they struggled in their 20s. Look at Willem Dafoe, right? He's a great example of an actor who really struggled in his 20s and then became huge. Or Tim Allen. He was arrested for cocaine and was in jail, and then he ratted everybody out, so he got let go, and then he didn't, and then became an actor really late in life. But it's also still different though too, because like if you look at your resume, like in a time like there where like someone like Willem Dafoe is struggling, maybe they did like 3 films or something and they just weren't working, like if you look at your resume, so that's why someone might think you are like you know, like when you look at people's net worth, like they would think like based on like the idea idea of what actors make, whatever that might be, the films that you're in, the people you're working with, that you worked with Ansel Elgort, you did, you know, you worked on all these things, you're working in the Trial of the Chicago 7. Someone might think you are like a millionaire. Like that, like the way that we have a reference. The internet does, because apparently my net worth says I'm worth $3 million online or something.
See, exactly.
Which is just such bullshit. And I someone said it to me one time. I was like, really? That's what it says? I was like, I fucking wish I had $3 million. Excuse me for cursing that. I wish, man. You know what I mean? Like, but that's what I'm saying. Is it's so the illusion of what it's like to be an actor is so far from what the actual outcome is. And I'm seeing now too. I'm sure you're seeing this as well. I'm seeing people who we grew up with at auditions. I'm seeing people who I know now at this age. Where at this age right now, they're faced with that decision. Can I continue doing this, like, for my life? Like, I'm seeing more people decide. Friends, he decided to quit, and he went back into insurance, and now he's doing that, and he's got a great salary. He's got a beautiful apartment in New York City, and he's stress-free. And you know what? I'm kind of jealous of that. You know, but no, I wouldn't give up acting for the world, man. I don't care. I mean, like people say, don't have a plan. I don't really have a plan B. Like, I would rather work in a restaurant and try to be an actor for the rest of my life than to just say, no, I'm going to give up and go do some regular thing, because, you know, I just love it so much, and being able to transform into, you know, another person, another world. And, you know, that's why I love film the most, right? Like, TV's great. And like, you know, honestly, like I would do TV for the money, obviously, because I need to survive and eat. But like I really thrive and where what I really want to work on, or are those film roles where you get to transform for like 2-3 months at a time and you're really into that character and, you know, really showcase your talent and your art. And it's not about showcasing it. To me, it's about like, I just have so much fun and I have such a passion for it that like nothing else in the world matters when I'm working on like a film and I really get to play like a good character. You know, like in the movie King Jack, it was one of the first roles where I got to be a huge asshole and I got to
I love that
be a
film.
totally different person than who I am in real life. And I really got to grasp and get inside this kid's mind who like, you know, lives in a poor area and has a shit mom and, you know, and like I got to like really transform, and I'll always go back to my love for acting, to that role, and it always helps me keep going when I think back to that time filming King Jack.
Did you audition for that film?
I want to get back to that.
Did you audition for that film?
You know what? It's funny because I was like, oh, you know what? I'm probably not gonna do well on this audition. Like, I'm pretty nice. I don't think I could do this. And then I got into the room and I just like transformed, and I was like a huge asshole. And the director like said, okay, wait, I'm going to have you come back in a sec. And then they brought another kid in and I waited out there, and then he had me come back in. I did it again. And it was kind of that same thing where like literally like 3 hours, I just getting home on the train and I got a call that I got it. And yeah, I was very grateful for that.
You know what's so crazy about that is I auditioned for that film. I knew Felix. I had done
Did you?
I had done a PSA with him a while ago, or like I met him doing like this was like one of those weird New York scenarios.
He's the coolest dude ever.
So cool, so like super down to earth guy. I remember I auditioned like in his apartment.
I think I remember this. You did a PSA with him. I think I remember you telling me this after I got cast.
But that's why that was one of those times where I was like, I was so happy that you got that film, because when I saw that role, I was like, this is going to be a good film. Like I knew that was going to be a great film, and you killed it. And I was never. Not that it like, you know, you should be happy for anyone, but it really, I was so happy that you got it, because I was like, the wrong actor who just looks the part could do such a terrible disservice to what that takes.
Isn't it funny how we do that as actors? Like, you know, like if your friend gets it, you're like, oh yeah, like go. And then if some random person, like, fuck that guy.
Well, because
like, anytime I see like my friend Charlie get something, or you get something, or like people are, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm not mad at all that like they got it. Like that's sick. Like I'm so happy that they got it over me. And I'm like excited for them. But if it's someone random, oh that motherfucker, like you know.
Well, because we know our stories and we know that we're real people and we appreciate it. There's like a lot of nepotism that's in this industry. There's a lot of people that work that aren't talented. A lot of it, you know, it's not a meritocracy where the most talented people always get the job.
I can't take it's funny, I watch a lot of YouTube and I get YouTube. I get the YouTube culture, but I hate when the YouTube and TikTok kids are getting these guest roles in TV shows or, these small roles in movies just because they know that like, oh, he has a lot of followers, so his followers are going to watch it. Yeah. And it's tough for people like us who have been working for so long, who like really have taken time to really perfect our craft. And it's taken like us years, you know, to get to this point. And then they're just throwing it to someone just to say the line, just to have the freaking, it just irks me sometimes so much.
It's tough, man. It's very tough. I definitely think there's a place for it because it makes sense from a business standpoint. But I also think that art, by and large, is suffering. I think that there's so much stuff being made, and a lot of it is crap. Like, I've never... I remember starting out, I would read scripts, sides, whatever it was that you'd get, and a lot of it was good. Like, even if it didn't become successful, a lot of it was good. I have, like, in the last 5 years, I've read some stuff that is like, I'm like, how is this getting made? I'm like, who is investing in this?
Dude, I've read stuff in the past, like, same thing, where I'm like, did they have an AI write this script? Like, did they just put in, like, a teenage love story? Like, because some of the writing is so bad that it's like, they don't even care what they're writing anymore. They're just putting it on page to get it out and then hoping that, I guess, maybe the actors will improv and make the script better. Yeah. But you read some of these scripts and you're like, how did this get greenlit? Why is someone giving money to make this?
Yeah.
You know, like, I saw a commercial for a movie today, The Jesus Revolution. It's a true story about hippies, and they go to this church, and like the acting looks okay, but I'm just like, this story is about a bunch of white hippies who just go in and then like join a church for Jesus. Like, why does this true story need to be told? Like, this is not like, make a true story that's actually like meaningful.
Well,
like, this is not it, man.
Well, that's funded by the churches, I'm sure, or something like that. That's not the.
It's got a crazy cast, and it's.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
What's his name? Courtney. Is like the main character in it. Oh, I forget his name. Yeah, well,
I don't know.
He was in Super 8. The kid from Super 8.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like the main character, and then anyway, I just see these things that are coming out, and I'm like, I cannot believe that someone put money. And maybe it's just, I think this sometimes too. I'm like, maybe some of these execs are just so old, they just like don't know what people want to see anymore, so they're just trusting. I don't know.
I just saw on the Golden Globes, the guy who created White Lotus, he said in his acceptance speech, he went out to all the studios with Jennifer Coolidge and pitched the show to everybody, and everybody passed. And I laugh about it with Allie because she's a writer, my girlfriend, or my God, you knew her as my girlfriend. My fiance now, gosh, she's gonna kill me.
Now,
I hate having to clarify that. It's it's the same thing in my mind. Anyway,
I love you, babe.
Yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about it. It's funny because you see all the time, and I mean, I've been in a position where I've been pitching shows and things, and you see these people who have no idea what people actually want. And as a writer for her, she always is presented with but that's not what people want right now. How do they know what they want?
Yeah.
These
you
people
don't know what people want.
Yeah, I really think at the end of the day, you have to pick what's good, regardless of what society is dictating is good. Is this a good story? Is it good material content, regardless if it's in theme? Which made me want to ask you, if you could sit down and write the role for yourself, or write the project that you could be on right now that you would really fulfill you artistically, what do you think that would be?
I'm actually writing a script right now. It's a show. It's called The Irish Boy. It's about this guy who's struggling to become an actor, and he keeps getting fired off a lot of his jobs. And he inadvertently starts working for the local mafia in his area. And as he starts to become more famous, the mafia starts to have him do more stuff. And he's got to balance kind of both lives.
A little Departed-esque.
Yeah, but so I'm working on that. It's called The Irish Boy, and it's I would want to do something that I really want to do a half-hour comedy series, and that's what that is. 'Cause I want to bring back the half-hour comedy series. Every show is 45 minutes long. It's too long. I want that. I've seen the half-hour shows starting to make a little bit of a comeback, but that's what my dream job right now would be, a funny half-hour comedy on FX.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm writing right now, is The Irish Boy, and I'm working on the pilot right now. I'm almost done, actually. But at one point, I'll just give it away, I guess. He starts working on a movie where he plays someone in the mafia, and in real life, so it's flashing from him punching a guy in the face in real life, you better pay us the money, to him on set, and the director's wow, you're really shit. All right, we got to redo that scene again. But in reality, I was just doing it last night for real, and the director's saying I'm doing it bad, and I'm dude, what?
That's brilliant, because in my head when you were saying that, I finished, it's he's doing, because there's also the version where someone's doing that and they're oh my God, it's so great, but I love your version so much more, because it's so much more real, where these people think they know what really what it really is. So, that sounds awesome, dude.
He's doing it in real life, and then he's going and performing it on set the next day, and they're telling him it's shit, and he's got to retake the scene, and he's what? What do you mean?
That's brilliant. That's so funny, because for me, I would want my dream thing is kind of not a cheesy sitcom, but I would love to do a real Seinfeld sitcom, man. I'd love to be, because I want to be in front of an audience, and I love that feeling, and I've been starved of that, and also doing something hysterical. So that's kind of
you know what? It's funny. I look at your career too. we've kind of been starved of comedy roles in our career when we both really enjoy comedy and we both want to kind of do that.
Yeah.
But we just keep getting cast in dramas all the time, man. It's like I can't escape the drama, man. It's crazy.
I think because it takes someone who really is good at comedy to be able to portray the drama really well. I think these people think they're good at drama and being truthful, but if you're good at comedy, you need to know the essence of what the character truly is feeling in order for it to be funny. Like, you feel bad for the character who's really trying hard to do something rather than, like, the character who's playing up the comedy of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think we're both very sensitive guys, and I think that probably lends itself to the case as well. But
I just want to do comedy. So, I mean, I do stand-up comedy, and I just want to like be in a comedic role that like suits me, and it's that's what it is now. Like, no one is writing anything good, so we're at the point where it's like you just gotta write it for yourself. You know what I mean? My friend Charlie Tahan, you know of him. He was on Ozark. He played Wyatt. He grew up in the town with me. He's doing the same thing, man. He's shooting a short, in like next week. Because he's like, he's like, I'm not even getting a lot of auditions or shit that I want to do. He's like, it's all crap, half of this stuff. And they're just trying to shit out these shows that are just like, I don't know, man. They're just, I see commercials for some stuff and I just die laughing. I'm like, there's no way. But that's so funny to take us back to the guy, Mike White, who did Lotus.
Yes, Mike White.
Right? Yeah, he also did School of Rock.
Yes,
but
yeah.
You look at his career. It's like he had a big thing with School of Rock, and then he kind of fell off for a while. And then him and his dad were actually on a season of The Amazing Race.
Oh, no kidding!
Which is so funny. Because we watched The Amazing Race with my girlfriend. It's like on Hulu, and they were just like in an episode. And I guess he was just like taking a break from Hollywood for a while. But he took a long break, and then now look at White Lotus, winning Golden Globes, man, crying on stage. It's amazing to see, And that's the thing. Never give up, man. Look at that, dude.
I think a lot of
it's an amazing race, right?
Quite literally, man. I think someone told me early on, I think it was one of my acting teachers, but it could have just been somebody older who I had worked with, and they literally said, you just have to outlast everybody. Like, you can't give up. Outlast everybody, because if you have that fire, it's going to leak into, and like you said, consistency. People will remember you. That's someone who I know has been coming in. People get to know you, and it takes a while sometimes for that right moment to be right for you. And so long as you're playing who you are truthfully, and you're memorable, and you're putting in good work, and you're taking every opportunity seriously, because I think a lot of people, they sandbag a lot of auditions, and they don't think like, oh, I'm going to get this, or I don't want to do this, and they do a shitty job. It's like, I try to do a good job every moment I'm in front of someone. Yeah. And I think that's why you work a lot. Like,
if you want to work, you got it. You can't slack it, or you're just not going to get hired. You're just going to pick the other dud, so you really got to give it 100% all the time. And it's hard to do, and it drains you, but I mean,
it's listen, it's one of those jobs where you're the job is unpaid hard work.
Yeah, right. Well, what's so great is I don't have to pay to go on job interviews anymore, so that's a plus. Not having to go to the city anymore is so nice, dude. Because I was paying what, like
$30
at one time. It was like $16 to get in and out. Yeah, round trip, and then it went up even now. So I can't imagine that. I think it's like $20 now. I can't imagine like going in and out of the city now for auditions, like, and paying that much.
No way.
I think I'm paying for a job interview. It's so bad. There was a time where at one point I was driving in for a little bit, and I got a ticket, and I was like, oh, god damn it. I was like, I hope I get this job just so I can pay this ticket. And I think it was for that show. Oh my god, what was that show called? It was with that girl Poppy. Anyway,
it was the internet girl Poppy?
Yeah, no. She's some girl with red hair. It was the show I did. Untraceable. Anyway, it was a stupid show. It literally got canceled after like two seasons or whatever. But I was like, God damn, I hope I get this episode of the show so I could pay this goddamn parking ticket. And I ended up getting it. I was like, oh, thank God.
Thank God, yeah. Oh, man.
But it was just like so stupid. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too. I was going to say with consistency, too, is like when you're at that point, I said this earlier, they'll see you and they'll go, oh, this guy's been around the block. He can come on set and do it like that. We don't have to worry about him. So let's pick him over the other guy because we know that he's going to come in, be professional, do his job, and get out of here. Especially for TV, you know what I mean? Like, because TV is very different than film. TV is like, bump, bump, but like you have to be on time. Like, you know, the 80s yelling like, no, keep moving. Like, we got to shoot 8 scenes today. We don't have money to shoot them tomorrow. You know, it's like, it's not as relaxed as film is. Film can be more relaxing. I mean, some films, you know, they'll spend a whole day just to shoot one scene.
Yeah.
But TV, it's like, no, we have a week and a half to shoot this at one episode. And a new director is going to come in at the end of this week, so we have to get it done.
Yeah.
So I feel like they want people that are able to come in and... So I think that helps too.
I know that's to be true, especially now. And I've never, the last few things that I worked on, I did like a big guest star on that show God Friended Me. And we did maybe 2 takes. I remember per thing, like of these. And if you're the guest star,
about TV too is because you do not have more than 3 takes. Like, even if you do shit, they're not going to give you that 4th take.
They're taking it.
If you ask, hey, nope, that's it. Like, and then you're going to look like a bad actor, and now you're fucked,
dude. Well,
that.
I hate it too, and because if you're the guest star, people might not know this. If you're coming in and the episode is more than likely about your character, they're starting the scene on you first. Everything they're shooting is everything. So that first big moment, everyone's like learning the blocking still and everything, and they're changing stuff. It's all on your close-ups when everybody's figuring it out. So you have to, like, as the guest star, it's so much more pressure. Because they want to get you in and out
as fast as possible, right?
God,
so
bad.
Like your first day on set, your close-ups are up first, and it's like, it is, I was going to say, so much pressure. And you just meet everybody for the first time, and everyone on the crew has been working together for like a year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And you're trying to fit in, and you're trying to
Yeah, like when I did Chicago Med like 2 years ago, like what was it? It was like the 6th season or whatever.
Yeah.
So these people have been working with each other for 6 years, and I'm coming in to do these 2 episodes as like a main guest star, and I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to like meet everybody. Yeah. I'm just saying hello to people, and they're like, good on set now. And I'm like, I didn't even get to say hi to that person. Like, what's going on? You know? You're like, dance, pony, dance now. And you're like, okay, I'm going. Like, you just got to be ready, dude. You just got to be ready with TV. TV's ready, and that's what I'm saying with like newcomers now. Like, that has to be terrible. I'm so glad when I was 17, I got skins, because like I can't think about like going in now or even 5 years ago and like being thrown onto a TV set and having to just go. Like, I mean, I would be shitting my pants. You know what I mean? Where now I'm like, I'm ready for it. Like I'm so comfortable. I could be like, yeah, I could do that tomorrow. Please let me do that tomorrow. I need a job. Please hire me. Like, you know what I mean?
I know all too well, man.
These people coming out of college and they don't really have their resume to back it up or stuff like that. Like, and because it's so different now, just with self-tape, I mean, it's probably so scary to just to start getting in the industry nowadays. I couldn't imagine it.
I couldn't either, and I hope that people understand that this is a very real conversation we're having right now about what it's like. And it's, while it is daunting and it is a very competitive time, I think that in any scenario, any career path that you are facing, if there's something about the process that is scaring you from doing it, more than likely, I'm not going to say this is always the case, it's an indication that it's not something that you are willing to go through the shitter for, and that therefore you probably don't love it the amount that you think you do. And especially in this career, people fall in love with different things. They fall in love with the product. They fall in love with the social media followers. They fall in love with the fame. They fall in love with the being at the parties and all these things. And that's so antithetical to what you actually are doing in the job that you're signing up for. So,
because you're signing up to be an artist, right? And if you're not signing, I'm not going to say like, you know, F everybody else who's not an artist and, oh, it's all about being an artist. You know, I'm not that guy, but like at the same time, because honestly, I hate when people go too in depth about like, well, I use this method to do my kind of, just shut up, dude. But like, you know, if you're not about wanting that love of the art itself, then it probably isn't for you, and you're gonna still do it anyway because people do. I mean, look at the TikTokers and the whatever. But like you were saying before, I think the oversaturation and the people like that who aren't as deeply in love, it's kind of ruining the magic of what TV and movies used to be. You know what I mean? In a way. And with the shitty writing now too, which I hate this with the writing nowadays. It's like, let's take everything that's going on in the real world and just throw it in your face on TV, like COVID and stuff like that. It's like, I'm watching this to escape from that world, you know?
Yeah.
And now you have like everyone with masks on in the show. Like Shameless did that. And I was like,
Knives
why?
Out did
Just
it,
like,
yeah.
oh my God. When I saw The Glass Onion, I saw that. And then they got a shot and then they were able to take it off. It's like, why even put that in then? It was so unnecessary. It was, I thought right away, I was like, okay, boomer humor. Like,
yeah, seriously, it was. And I honestly, I mean, controversial opinion, I hated that movie. I thought it was dreadful.
Did you?
Yeah, I hated it.
I enjoyed it. It was fun, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is... there's 2 movies I've seen this year that I love so far. All's Quiet on the Western Front.
I didn't see that.
Like,
who's that?
Crazy. It's on Netflix. It's a remake of a movie from the 30s. It's about World War One, but on the perspective of the German side, and it's the perspective of like this little kid. I mean, he's like 18 on the German side, and it's violent. It's beautiful. It is cinematography is just unbelievable. It kind of plays like 1917, but honestly, 1917 was like slow for me. I didn't really love it, and it was almost gimmicky in a way, some parts of it. This is just brutally honest about like, look, we're gonna just drop you into war, and this is it, and this is how it is.
I gotta check that out.
It's beautiful and scary and frightening, and then the second movie that I love the most this year is Banshees of Inisherin.
I didn't see that, but I've heard phenomenal
really
things about it. Obviously,
it's really good.
Yeah, that's on my list to see. I wanted to see that in theaters. But yeah, that's...
Me too, and I never got the chance, and then it was on HBO Max, and I was like, okay, I'm just watching at home. I'm such a bad person like that, too, where, like, I don't go to the theater anymore, and I feel really bad because I love the movie theaters, and I want to go.
Yeah.
I'm just so busy all the time with work and now and stuff. Like, I work at the pizza restaurant during the day, and then I host trivia at night, 4 nights a week. And then Thursday and Friday, I work doubles at the pizzeria. So my only day off right now during the week is Saturday. It's like the only day I get to like hang out with staff and my girlfriend and like chill. So we
Let me ask
usually
you
end
a
up just
question.
watching movies here. But
Do you ever get like, considering, I mean, I think of you this way, and maybe this is my perception of it, and you have a false perception of yourself, but I truly believe this is the way that most people would see you. Do you get into a scenario where, like, you feel self-conscious about doing that, considering what you have done? Or do you have a scenario where maybe someone recognizes you and you're like, you're the dude from the Wolf of Wall Street, and you're...
You know
like,
what it is? Yeah. Sometimes I feel that way, and I feel like, you know... Sorry, excuse me. Like, I don't want to say, like, I shouldn't be doing this work. Like... I don't feel that I shouldn't be doing this work because it's like lesser work.
Yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't be doing this work because I've accomplished all these things and I've been doing it for so many years that I should be able to do what I love, and I should be doing what I love, which is acting. But that's just not how the world works. You know, if I could be acting all the time and get jobs constantly, yeah, I would. So I do love the restaurant industry. I love working at the bagel store. I love working at the pizzeria. I love it. And I love doing trivia at night. I really do. I love all my regulars. I love everyone I see every night that comes through for trivia. So I never get jaded in the way that it's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, or I'm embarrassed that someone's going to see me at the pizzeria and think like, oh, I thought he was famous. What? Oh, you're not? Yeah. And like, you know, if people want to think that way, then they can go screw themselves, dude. Yes. Because like, you don't know what I'm going through, or like, you know, maybe I'm up for like a really big TV show. Who cares? Like, you know, like I'm doing what I want to do. Like, there are judgmental people out there, and if they want to be that way, then screw them, whatever. But no, I personally, I never feel like that. I feel like, you know, they can go screw themselves. I know where I'm at. Yeah. I know what I want to do. And yeah, the only thing I feel is like, I shouldn't be doing this because I should be doing what I love. But right now, it's just not, I don't have the opportunity right now, but it's going to come, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to keep working hard, and I'm going to get there eventually.
Oh, I know.
And,
you
know, you feel roles where, I mean, like we were talking about before, you feel it where you're like, oh, this one fits me like a glove. And, you know, like TrialOfTheChicago7, like when I did that audition room, I was the only one with long hair and a beard. And right away I knew I have a 40% more chance than anyone in here just because of my look.
Yep.
So I'm going to beat the shit out of that and really take hold of that and be like, because, it's just that role fit me better. And that happens. Like you could be the best actor in the world, but a role might not fit you at that certain time or point.
Yeah.
Or, you could be the worst actor in the world and they might give you it because you look a certain way, or there's one thing that the director likes that's different. So that's why I never get like sad when I don't get an audition. I go, I gave it the best I could and I did a really great job. It's not that I'm a bad actor. It's that it's just not right for this one.
Yeah.
And that's how I deal with rejection. And I know that's really hard. And it's one of the main reasons people quit is because of rejection, right? People get really upset. They can't handle going on 20 auditions and never hearing back from a call, I go on 20 auditions now and I'm like, I can't even count now. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, what did I audition for? What? I just wait and like maybe if I get a call, I'm like, wait, what was that project? Oh, they're still doing that? Oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I just you can't care. You have to just, after the audition's done, you have to throw it in a bin and not think about it at all. Because you're never going to get like a yes or no. They don't tell you right after, oh, they're not going with you. You just never get a call. You know what I mean? And people can't handle that sometimes.
I understand
tough.
it. It is tough. It's very tough. It's not for everybody. Yeah. I want to ask you, do you have any scenarios or from working with the people that you've worked with where you either learned something or they gave you a piece of advice or there was a memorable, like watching somebody act that you kind of like
I've learned so much. I've learned so much over the years from different actors I've worked with. And obviously the number one person was Meryl Streep. I did this movie called Hope Springs. I had this small role with Meryl Streep. And they called rehearsal. And, excuse me, I'm freaking out. I go, oh my God, like they're going to have rehearsal. Meryl Streep's going to come walking through the door and we're going to rehearse. They call rehearsal. Some random woman walks through the door. I'm like, who the heck? I was like, that's not Meryl Streep. Who the heck is that, And then she like comes up. She does the whole scene with me. And I'm just doing the scene with her. I have no clue who she is. I've never seen her in my life. I thought Meryl Streep was supposed to be doing the scene with me. And they go, okay, rehearsal's done. They were just doing it for blocking. And rehearsal's done. All right, we're going to go right to camera. All right, action. And they go action, and Meryl Streep comes in, does the whole scene in one take. All right, Meryl, you're good to go. We're just going to get Danny's coverage now. I was like, what the hell? She doesn't even do her own rehearsals, bro. She just I guess maybe she watches at the monitor. I have no idea. But literally, I was freaking out, being like, this woman is going to walk in on rehearsal. It's the first time I'm meeting her. The first time I met her and did the scene with her was literally when they called action. And it was just I was like, there's no way. I was like, this woman doesn't do her own rehearsals. This woman is and I always say to myself, I want to be to the point as an actor where I don't have to do rehearsals, where I'm that good that I can just watch someone do the block and be like, okay, got it, let's go.
You know the character so well that you
can just,
you don't need to figure it out.
At that point, you're not acting. And that's what I love about acting too. Is you're not acting, you're just living life, right? When you are securely in that moment, that feels so good. And it's almost like when they call cut, and I'm sure you've had this before working, where it's almost like, okay, a good example of this is, when you're driving and you get home and you don't even remember the drive home, and you're just like, wow, I feel like when you have a really good scene and you're really in it, it feels like that. And once they call cut, you were in a trance. You weren't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes when I feel like the best takes is when I come out of a take and I feel that feeling, and I go okay, I'm not going to do it better than that, because I was totally lost in the moment. Yeah. And there's no way that I'm going to be able to do it without thinking again, because that felt so good.
Because you were really listening, and that doesn't happen all the time.
It's no, it's like a trance. So I feel like that Meryl Streep is just in that moment all the time.
That takes some freaking skill.
Another great advice I got. So I did this movie, The Contest, and I worked with this very lovely lady, Mary Beth Peel. She played my grandmother, amazing actress. And I kept forgetting the lines in this one scene, and I got really frustrated with myself because, I've never really had that problem up until that point during shooting. That day I was just really tired. It was really early in the morning, and the way that movie was shot too, dude. He changed the script like every 2 days. He had an olive script, a pink script. Oh, today we have the white script. I'm like, is this even going to be the same movie by the time we're done shooting? Like, you're changing the script every day. So it changes this whole scene last minute. So I get to set and I have to relearn this whole scene. And I keep forgetting the lines. And Mary Beth, she says to me, she goes, don't worry about anything that's on the paper. She's like, that doesn't matter. She's like, you're here with me. And these are what we're talking about, you being upset because this kid is backstabbing you during the contest. And that's all you have to do. And I'm your grandmother, and just talk to me like your grandmother. And literally, like, we did this take, and like I improv'd half of the freaking lines, and I didn't care what was on the paper, and it was the best take. It's the one they used in the movie. And from that day on, now, like, acting, like, I barely, like, unless it's TV, like, where, like, because sometimes TV, like, you gotta be, like, really punctual. I'll just, like, not even go with the script anymore. Even on auditions, like, because, like, you know, I used to spend so much time, like, really, like, having to learn the script on auditions, and now I just, like, kind of wing it, and I feel like I get better performances out of myself because I'm more authentic to myself and the character that way when I'm just letting it flow, you know? And Mary Beth taught me, she was like, does not, like, don't, she's like, if you keep reading that over and over again, you're going to memorize it eventually, but you're going to start talking like a robot. She's like, you're not going to be feeling what, because you're just trying to think of the next line, and you can tell, you can look at yourself and you can tell that you're, you know.
Especially when you've gotten to a point where you're shooting and you have to just do your job, and the best action you can take is just listening and responding. That's going to get the best performance.
I read somewhere recently that's what Tom Holland does, actually. He, like, doesn't stick to lines, like, ever, or barely read scripts. He'll just, like, go in and just start doing crap.
Well, they won't send him scripts, so he probably has to.
Yeah, right, exactly. No one to send him the script. Yeah, I heard that recently, that he just, like, barely follows scripts, and it's really funny. And Mary Beth taught me that back in the day, which I just found so amazing. Yeah. And it just really helped me. Like, I did a lot of improv when I was younger, and, like, all my theater career when I was younger was all, like, improv and stuff, and I just love that, and that's why I want to do improv comedy so bad too. But when you can get into that moment, that's what acting is, right? If you can make a moment as authentic as possible, that the person watching you at home or in that movie theater their hairs stick up and they feel the same emotion you feel. That's what every actor wants to do, right? We want to make someone feel something. Yeah. And if you can let go enough to make that happen, I think that's the beauty of the art itself. And that's why I do it. You know, I don't know. Because then you feel it too. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just love that so much.
Yeah. I think if you're doing it.
I want to do that. And then when I felt that, it's like, you want to do that for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
I know all too well, man. In those moments that you're acting in it, you feel a release, or you feel like a change in your own body. That's the high that I keep looking for. I can always. I'm like, it is like a drug. And it's when you've tasted it. And I think it's the same thing that stand-up comics say, you know, when you go on stage and you taste the laughter from the audience, it is a drug unlike anything else. And
don't be scared. I want to say this to the audience out there. Don't be scared to be assertive, because, you know, like, some people, I remember going to set sometimes when I was younger, and I kind of, like, curled into a ball, kind of, instead of being, like, assertive or being like, hey, can I say the line this way, or trying to do it a different way. Like, I think back in don't ask, just do it, and then surprise people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, like, really show them. And it's crazy with Wolf of Wall Street, right? We didn't have a script. It just literally said, like, John Bernthal sells drugs to kids. That was the script. So when I went to the audition, Ellen Lewis just had us sell drugs, and that was it. And I just did all these, like, crazy, stupid, funny things in there, and I just kept doing a bunch of different takes. And I remember just, like, making them laugh, and I was like, oh, that's great. So I get to New York City in the morning to shoot that morning, and we're in a pass van, and there's 2 kids in the van behind me, and we're going to pick up John Bernthal. We stop in front of John Bernthal's apartment or hotel, wherever the heck he was staying, and he comes out and he gets in the van. And he's just immediately like, all right, what are you guys going to talk about today? Like, what do you guys think? Like, talk about pussy, talk about girls. And I was like, yeah, man, we can talk about girls, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm thinking about maybe hitting one of you in the dick with a baseball bat. Can I hit one of you in the dick with a baseball bat? And the kid behind me was like, no, I don't want to get hit in the dick with a baseball bat. And he ends up in the back seat, falling asleep and like nodding off the whole ride to set into Queens. And now I'm just sitting in the front with John, and me and John are just shooting the shit about what we're going to make the scene about, what we're going to say. And we just, the whole car ride into Queens, we write the whole entire scene while the kid in the back is falling asleep. I wasn't even supposed to be like the main, I was actually kid number 2 or whatever originally. And what happened was we got there, me and John just like went off. Martin wasn't there, was the second director unit for that scene. And Martin was supposed to show up, but he was stuck in the courthouse with Leo. Apparently, Leo was having a rough day in the courthouse, so he never made it to set. But anyway, me and John just started riffing, and we did so many takes of all this, like, different... Like, there's so much that we did that's actually in the movie. In the movie, it's just short. And there's, like, some stuff that I wish they, like, kept... Obviously, the movie's so long, I'm not going to keep it.
Yeah.
But he kept calling me Zip. And he was like in all the improvs. And he was like, yeah, Zip, like tell your sister Zip, you know? And I ended up getting credited as Zip and getting an actual name and credit. And it was great. And I was supposed to just be, you know, drug kid number 2 or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. You got to be assertive, man. And you just got to go with the wind and just take the bulls by the horn. And like, if something like that happens, just do it. Don't be the kid in the back falling asleep. That's all I got to say.
That's great advice. You know? And it happens. I mean, when I did with Jermaine Clement, when I did the movie People, Places, Things, it was the same thing, college kid number whatever. But I had such a good rapport with him that he was calling me Paul, and we created this whole story of like me being like this kid who like goes and parties and is like is so oblivious to everything. Like I became a character that wasn't even written on the page, and then I got credited as Paul instead of, because he kept saying Paul to me. He's like, Paul, have you ever been to Queens? And I was like, I think like once for a party. He's like, yeah, see, once. Like, and we had this whole back and forth thing about all that stuff, and so that got translated into that. And even like what we did in the garden, like my character, and even with you, like I all of basically 90% of that movie was improv, especially the stuff like, I mean, you had written lines before my character.
They let us do it, which was great.
Yeah, but I just was like screaming at the top of my lungs.
You just started ripping shit. Those nights were so fun, man. We had so much fun on that set.
I did have a lot of fun. Yes, I had a lot of fun on that set, and
being huge butt heads in that movie. We're such assholes in that movie.
Yeah, I was
awful people.
Terrible people that I've seen before.
I remember, like, they would call cut and be like, oh my God, we're going to hell.
I know.
I know. Oh my God, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. Like, you know.
But that's what you do, and that's the price you pay for authenticity sometimes, and we really kind of went there for that.
And if you want to show the violence that's in the world and portray it, like, you know, sometimes you got to do that to shine light on it, right? So
yeah, it was, and it was important for that movie. I want to ask you, dude, too. We do this on the show a lot of the time. Keith, I'm sure you've noticed, I've kind of freaking haven't asked the last couple of guests, but I want to make sure we come back to it. And this will be a good person to ask it to. Is there
before you ask me this question, can I say one thing?
Yes.
So you were asking me about people before. I said Meryl Streep. I said Mary Beth Peil, and John Bernthal. There was one more. Mark Rylance.
Oh, my favorite actor of all time.
Dude, he is my favorite actor in the universe. So just watching him perform, like, dude, chills. First of all, he's one of the best actors. But it's not just that. Every day on set, he would bring this little stick hockey game, right? And he'd be like, all right, who's playing? And we'd, like, play this game, and he was the nicest man. Good morning. What's up, guy? Like, the nicest person. Like, just like you want him to be on set every day because he's such a lovely person. You know what I am?
Yeah.
And I know me and you are very much this way. We go out of our way to talk to the crew and, like, you know, just people, because we're just there to work like everyone else, you know? You take it as a job and everyone else is your coworker, you know? And some actors don't think like that. Some actors... I won't say some names, but, you know, some actors will just go to the trailer, not eat lunch with anyone, you know, be an asshole. You know what I mean? I had this one actress who was like, I have a date with J.J. Abrams' assistant tomorrow, and you're treating me like this? This is like a long time. I'm like, how do these people get hired, dude?
I know.
Anyway, nicest guy in the world. Literally went out of his way to like make us play this game, this hockey game. It was so much fun. And like on top of that, he just like, when they call action, snaps into it and you watch him work. And it's like watching, like, I don't know, it's like watching Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel. You're like, oh, holy shit. So like top, Mark Rylance is the coolest, nicest person I've ever worked with, and I hope I get to work with him again because he's just top tier guy, man. Nicest guy.
I don't know if I talked about it. No, I don't know if I talked about it on this. I talked it on Crispin's podcast, or maybe it was our episode. I can't remember. But Mark Rylance in the play Jerusalem changed my life. His performance in that play changed my life.
Seeing him live, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I was able to see him live because I was in the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing him on stage, yeah, I mean, you get the same experience. And isn't it wild, man? That
was one of the only plays I got to sit front row, and I got to sit in front row for that play, and I was like, I literally, the whole play, I'm like this. That's what I want to do. That is what I want to do. So yeah, great guy, great actor.
Isn't it phenomenal? I just like, it gives me chills thinking about it, and like the memories I have from it, and like, oh my god, so funny, crazy.
Well, this question's in a similar vein, but the only caveat with this question is it doesn't have to be related to your professional life. It can be. A lot of people interpret this question any way they want, so allow yourself to be more than likely the first thing that comes to your mind. But is there an experience you've had in your life? It can be anything. It can be with an animal, a friend, a family member. It can be with a coworker where it had such a profound impact on you, on your DNA, that it altered something in your mind, your body, your philosophy of life, and you think that people would really benefit from hearing that experience.
Oh, that's so hard. You know what?
I know the ones are flowing there.
Rephrase the question one more time.
So, is there an experience that you've had, and it doesn't have to be professional, but it can be with like a family member, an experience. So that could be like, literally watching the sunset.
That just changed my life.
That kind of or not changed necessarily, but it had such an influence on you that it's one of those memories that constantly revisits you, or it's one of those lessons that you live by, or it's.
I'll just say the first things that pop into my head.
Please.
I guess, okay, when I was 5, I was running back and forth across the street, and my dad was like raking or whatever, and he was like, "Stop running in the street! Stop! I told you to stop running in the street." And I was just like being a little ass, and my brother is riding his bike in the road, and I'm running across the street, and I run back across the street this way, and my brother's on his bike coming this way, and he goes, "I don't know how to brake, and there's a car right here, my Uncle Brian's car, and he hits me, and I get plowed into between the car and his bike. I black out. I wake up. My head is in the middle of the bike like this. There's a spoke through my ear and another spoke through my head. My dad comes up to me. He rips the spoke out of my ear. So now my ear's pierced. He rips the spoke out of my head. Rips me out of the bike, drags me by the hair up the driveway and goes, "I told you not to cross the street." Throws me in the back of the minivan right to Valley Hospital. I get I think it was 50 stitches all across my head. They stitched my ear. That was a moment in my life, even though I was so young, where I was like, wow, I almost died. I barely know what dying is, I'm 5, but it made me start thinking about life in a way like that. And I think I look back on that moment and being life is short, life is crazy. You never know what's going to happen. Don't be an idiot and live life to your fullest while you're still here on earth. Mm-hmm. And I think those moments of and I've had other moments like that too, where my dog bit a part of my face off one time. All those moments where I really get hurt, but that moment specifically haunts me to this day because it was just such a terrifying experience in my life, and it really helps me understand how lucky I am and how lucky I am to be in the place where I'm able to do this career that I love, and I'm able to pick these career paths, and that's why I don't give up, because I'm I'm so lucky just to be on this earth and be born in the town that I was born in the situation that I was born in this life, that like I gotta take the bull by the horns and really like strive for like what I want and never take anything for granted. You know what I mean? Because your brother could run you over with a bike and you could die.
Well, I think that is terrifying. I'm glad that didn't happen. I gotta imagine it was life-changing.
I survived, so.
You survived. I've had many of situations where I remember, I'll give you mine, where I was over this past kind of couple of years, I was having some medical trouble, and they had me going in for an MRI of my brain, and I really was convinced that I had brain cancer, and a lot of the signs were pointing towards brain cancer. And I remember I said to myself, and it's funny to say this now because I remember going into the MRI, I was like, I had already, like, going up to that moment to get the MRI, I was in my head telling myself that this is it. Like, I'm going to have a few months, years left to live. I had come to terms. I came to peace in a way with, like...
Wow, that's really terrifying.
It was terrifying, man. I came to peace with that being the idea, and it was scary. When I say came to peace, it was I went crying and screaming doing it. You know, I was so scared. Yeah. And I go to the MRI, and I'm waiting for the results, and I get the confirmation that it was clean. I'm like, the MRI was clean. I'm like, what? And I told myself, if I got out of that situation, I would have such a lust and zest for life, and I'd be so grateful because I had stared the freaking Grim Reaper in the face. I know it's kind of weird to say that because it wasn't like a literal sense, but from every point that I was experiencing it, it was so real.
Daunting, yeah,
it was so real for me. I had come to terms with what my life was going to be like if that was the case. And I literally started calling up like cancer research foundations, and I was like, I want to be involved. And I started like helping out, figuring out ways to contribute to like homelessness and things like that. And and it's sad that that's the thing that had to happen to me to really open my eyes to like what the value of life is. So, you know, and I have to remind myself still.
At least it happened though. I mean, there's many people who go through life and don't even, you know,
have that awakening.
Don't even think about that, or even well, just selfish.
I'm lucky to be here, and I'm lucky to know you, dude. And I miss you. And
I miss you so much.
It's been too long. We have to catch up when I'm in Jersey or something, or if you freaking come out here, because inevitably in the next few months, I have a feeling. No, not a few months.
I'm just like working and all the time, going crazy.
Yeah,
stressed out. Everyone's stressed out, obviously, and like drinking a little too much than I should be, obviously, because then you get stressed out and then you get discouraged, and everyone gets discouraged. And I feel like we painted acting as pretty scary to the audience. It's not scary. It's wonderful and beautiful, and you have to be able to like enjoy that fear. You know what I mean? Like enjoy that fear and get ready for it. And if it's something you want to pursue, I feel like you definitely should. And the best option, because people ask me all the time, they say like, hey, how do I get into acting? I always tell them the same thing. I say, go on Backstage, go on Backstage, go on Actors Access, just start sending stuff out. Go do those college films for free. Build up that resume. Because once you have that little bit of resume built up, people are going to take you a little bit more seriously. Then send out that resume to a manager or whatever. But you know what? You got to work for free for a little bit to work on your craft, right? You don't just become an actor overnight. You got to work on your craft. I mean, people go to school for years to do it, and they pay to perfect their craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the best way to do it is just to start doing it. Like, go do those free NYU films for free. Go search for, little theater production companies just to get your feet wet, right?
And I'm glad you said that.
And just jump in.
I'm glad you said that because acting is not scaring. Acting is, like you said, this beautiful, magical, it could be the most freeing experience you ever had. But the thing that I don't like is a lot of people who try to paint this like easy way, or like the fact that you sign up for this course and you're going to get a guest star in a couple months. Like, it's such a predatory thing. And the thing that's very important is understanding that acting, you become the CEO of a small business that you are running. And that small business you are running is as like you are running any small business, any startup. Like, go to any restaurant, any brand new restaurant, and ask that person if it was easy more, and 90% of those restaurants will tell you it was tough as hell for us to get started, and we struggled financially, hiring, like all these crazy things that happen, but they love it.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the life and I really wish someone was as real to me as they could have been about the business, because it was so shocking to me, and I felt like I was like in cold water getting electrocuted. I'm like, why am I 24 and I'm not Michael J. Fox right now? That's what I thought was going to happen.
Well, that was like me, right? So like I started when I was 10. I didn't get my real first job till 17. So for those years, I'm like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Like, why am I not cute enough as a kid? Like, am I not, No, it's not. There's nothing wrong with you. You got to get better. You got to, that, like you said, you need finances to start up any small business. Your finances for your startup are improving yourself, improving your craft, improving your ability to, public speak, talk with people, have conversations with, directors and people, it is a popularity contest, right? You want them to like you. It is. I mean, and then once they like you, then you can show them what you have to offer, right? But you need those people skills to get to that point, to show them your skills. And people skills are very, very important in this business. And I remember I started out kind of shy at first. And and that probably prevented me from getting certain jobs when I was like 13, 14. And then when I broke out of that shell and I was like, I got to be more assertive, like we were talking about before. Yeah. And I got to not be in my head and think about like, oh, well, maybe I should ask if I should do the line this way. No, I'm just going to perform the line this way and see if they like it, and it will surprise them. Oh, and that's what happened. Like when I was younger, I did this college show. I started making more choices for myself instead of asking how I should say this line or asking the director this and that. I just started making those choices and being like, oh, I'm going to do it this way, this take, and see if it works. And I started learning that like the freedom of acting and what it is, like all great actors do that, right? They have this like great freedom, and it took me a while to learn that freedom. And once I did, I really had my stride going more. So you can't be afraid to take risks, and you can't be away to, play a character one way because you're afraid. Just try it. And if the director doesn't like it, they'll tell you. They'll be like, dude, that was shit. Try it a different way. But don't be afraid to try it, because like even with auditions too, like the crazier the audition, the more likely they're going to remember you, right? So like do something. Like I just did an audition for something recently. I don't know if I can talk about it. Well, I didn't sign an NDA, so I could talk about it, right?
Well, be vague. Be vague.
I tried out for a Amazon series about a popular video game series, apocalyptic video game series. You might be catching my drift. There's some vaults involved, and I played this crazy character, and I decided, I can't say what the character was, but I decided to have like a pocket knife and like chew on the pocket knife and like act a little bit more crazy, and I haven't heard back just yet, but like, I wasn't afraid to take that risk. I wanted to show like, I don't know, I just wanted to be as crazy as possible for some reason, and I took a risk, and I might hear back and I might not, but like,
you made it fun for you though too. You made it like
exactly. I did it fun for me, and I felt like I did the best I could because that's how I would want the character to be seen. Yes. It's like I want the character to be crazy. Like that'd be so cool.
It's a great lesson,
and
right there.
Maybe they didn't think of the character that way. There's been so many times where like the director or producer won't even think of a character that way, and then you come in and change their mind about it. And now the character is something they didn't even think of to begin with. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you've made it that way.
When they hire a lot of great actors, they hire these great actors because when they show up, they're going to bring a whole other layer that they never thought of. And we think because we're not, Joaquin Phoenix or whoever it is, like we think because we're not that person, we don't have the liberty in the audition room to have that same mentality where we're like, no, I envision the character this way and I think it's going to elevate the material. When the second you adopt that for yourself at your young, ripe age, that's when people start remembering you.
Dude, it's funny because once I started doing that, I swear to God, I started getting like more callbacks. And when I was able to really free myself of these, I felt like I had like restraints on, right? And once I was able to just like you just said, like oh, I'm not Joaquin Phoenix, so I can't do that. Like, I shouldn't do that because they're going to think weird of me or whatever. Like, no, do what you think is awesome because you want it to be awesome.
Yeah.
Right? And if they like it, then they think you're awesome too, then you get the part. If they don't think it's awesome, they're lost.
Yeah, and they're probably a weirdo, so screw them.
Yeah, but I swear I started getting more callbacks and stuff when I started to care less about what other people thought. And that's like when I work in the pizza restaurant too. I don't care what people. You're working in a pizza restaurant. I thought you graduated high school and then became like an actor. I like pizza, all right?
Yeah. Well, dude, I
say that all the time. Even if I get like a big job, I'll still do trivia when I can because I love my customers that come, and I love doing trivia and hosting trivia, and I really do enjoy it. It's so great.
And I think a lot of actors get obsessed with this like mentality of being bigger than anything, and it's something that you have by doing something like that is a sense of community and real people who are rooting for you, and a sense of fulfillment when you come home and you're like, I just got this thing. Those people are probably like, heck yeah. A lot of actors, they think they're going to go rogue and be this Mr. Hollywood or Mrs. Hollywood and whatever. It's not as enjoyable when you have this high and mighty mentality about what success is as an actor. So I commend you for being very real about everything and your situation and what it takes to pursue this career. I
think more people have to be real because I think it's not talked about enough in this industry. And like you said before, people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to show the world that there is that side, because they want to act like everything's hunky-dory because they want to perceive that their life is like that, hoping like fake it till you make it, I guess, kind of, right?
100%.
But there are a lot of struggles that come with it, and I don't want to scare anyone away from acting and talking about them, but they are real things, and if you're going to get into acting, it's a point of experience see what I do there? To know that like these things exist and people don't talk about them enough. And I think it's really important to show that these points of experience are going to happen to you, and you're going to have to, strap up those pants and just like keep going, baby.
And love it enough to where that can happen to you and you're still going to love the art the same way, and it's not going to be affected by it. But it's very important to talk about this, and I'm glad you do. I mean, I try to be as transparent as possible, and I think especially in the voiceover world, which is what a lot of people know me from, I try to, people think I did this one job in a video game and like, oh, life is great for you now. It's like I'd been doing shit for 10 years prior and nobody...
I mean, you were working for you're older than me, right? So like even when I first started meeting at auditions, like you were doing it for years before me even, and probably. And it's just so funny, like, I mean, that grind though, you know what I mean? Like,
the grind, yes.
You were on that grind and I was like, yeah, I was doing it, but it's a different kind of grind, like you're at this point where you're like, okay, I'm in New York City. Like, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, and just
sink or swim.
Sink or swim. Just the fact that you didn't give up. And it just shows that like where you are now, you're doing all this stuff now, but I'm sure you're still fighting, and you're still fighting
every day, dude. I'm literally working like, I mean, I'm almost a bit of a workaholic in a way, but and the reason why this podcast is so important to me is because I truly feel for my younger version of myself that had no access and resources to things, and there wasn't the transparency of the conversations we're having about things, because it hurt so much more being 24 years old, 25, and not having this not being Michael J. Fox and having my own series in my career, and thinking I had to I had to start my own website design business, and I had to be a personal assistant, and I had to figure out ways to make money. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on this show. I hope I have. I used to go and be like a medical student for people and like have basically be half naked, get paid $250 for people to do like mock clinical trials on me where they had to I had to pretend I had a hernia and things. I was doing anything
to keep the dream alive.
I was handing out flyers in the middle of freaking Port Authority where people were spitting on you for bothering them. Like, I was doing everything. And I say that and I wear them all like badges of honor, because I knew that what I was doing to kept me in the game, and it let me keep living in the city, and it kept me letting to go to each audition if I was at home, and if I was giving up and I was decided to pursue another career, like fully pursue another.
You wouldn't
career,
be where you're at today.
I wouldn't be. No, so
and that would be so sad because the Paul I see today is my favorite Paul.
Well, right back at you, dude. And honestly, I'm really glad that you got to come on here. I'm glad that we're having more actors come on and we talk about this side of things, because I know a lot of people here listen to voiceover stuff, but it's so important because it starts with the acting for me. It always starts with the acting.
Yeah.
And especially seeing someone like you, who the career that you've had, I mean, just quickly too, like so many of the people that you've worked with, like even like when you did Ask for Jane, like I just like all like the producers that were on that were people that I've worked. Like, it's so insular, and you meet these same people. Yeah. It's a very small scene.
It's pretty crazy. And that's the thing about Not Giving Up is that it is a very small scene, and you do see the same people. I mean, a lot of the movies that I worked on, I've worked with a lot of the same crew.
Yeah.
Like guys that worked on TrialOfTheChicago7, I worked on like a movie with Victoria Justice 6 years ago, a small indie film,
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, what's up, Connor? Hey, what's up? The people that like I know, and I'm like, I worked with them so many on all these different projects, and it's kind of like we grew up together. Like we were doing small indies, and now we're all working on with Aaron Sorkin together, and it's like cool to like be with the same people. I'm like, oh my god, like I know I'm freaking out that I'm working on this. Like he's like, yeah, me too. I'm at AC, but still, it's sick, dude.
But that's so important too, in like the relationships you have with the crew, and that goes across the board because like let's say the assistant to the sound mixer is on set, and you become friends with that person. If your sound's coming in shitty, right? If that person's your friend, they're gonna be like, hang on a second, Danny's mic right now is coming up real scratchy. Whereas, like, if you're a dick, they might just say, screw him. It's gonna sound like shit then.
They're gonna be like,
and maybe we'll get someone else to ADR for him because screw that guy.
What's great too is when if you're friends with the cameraman, right? So like a lot of the guys that I've worked on Americans with over the years, Americans kind of screwed some of those guys over. They couldn't afford a lot of the camera guys, so I think it was like season 4. They like switched out the whole camera crew, which kind of sucked. But I knew this guy Andrew for years, and he was like the man. And I would see him on these like these indie films I was doing, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get like a close up of Danny on this shot," and he'd like wink at me, and like he'd get me more camera time because he's like my boy, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I think camera B's gonna just do a shot of Danny on this one," and he'd like wink at me, he's like, "Yeah," and make it in the movie sometimes, like, "Yeah, dude, he's the man, dog."
See, you gotta. That's the essence of all of this, and that's why I love.
Don't be an asshole in general.
Don't be an asshole, and I really cherish you, and I love seeing you kill it, and I know you're gonna keep killing it, and thank you for just all the honesty and the truth here of this. I'm excited to see your script when you're done with it. Please send it to me. I will read it. I'm so honest about that. I will read it. You know me. And yeah, dude, it's been awesome to have you on, so thank you.
Dude, it's been awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Like, you're the best, obviously. When you were moving out to LA, I was kind of sad, but, you're doing great things over there, and I'm really, really proud of you. I'm happy for you, and I just, I'm so excited whenever I see you do all these wonderful things, and like this show. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the platform where, I can talk about these things, because I've been trying to, like, get these points across somehow, but like it's not that people don't want to listen. It's hard to get the platform where you can do it, and you're creating a platform for all these voice actors and these wonderful people to come and just like talk about the industry and be real and honest, and that's what it's about, and that's where the good stuff is.
Hey man, it's my pleasure. There's enough fluff out there. I think people are thirsting for what is actually to come out, and I think a lot of people get scared by it, and so be it. Let me be the bad guy if that's the way you view things, but I'd feel so disserviced to everybody if we weren't real about what it takes and the hard work and the sweat and the tears and stuff. So I really appreciate you talking about the stuff that you did, and we'll have you back on, man. We'll have to do a what do they call them? Like when it's a I don't know. You become a friend of the show. You're a friend of the show now, as we say.
Oh, man. Hey, thank you so much. Well, you're always my friend no matter what.
Yeah. Well, that's the
man.
corny, like, talk show hope thing that they...
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming on, everybody.
Yeah, come on. Whenever, man. It's been a lot of fun talking to you, man, for sure.
Oh, dude.
Can I tell you one last story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. It's something really funny. So sometimes you're perfect for roles, but sometimes your friends will come and they will take the role from you. So my friend Charlie Tahan, he played the Scarecrow on the Batman series on television. I forget what it was called. Gotham?
Gotham, yeah.
He played Scarecrow in Gotham. And he was doing Ozark season 2 at the time, or season 1. So he couldn't come and do Scarecrow, so they were recasting his role. So I went in. Basically, I have the role. I'm going to shoot in like 2 days, and I'm going to be the new Scarecrow on Gotham. Charlie hits me up. Hey, what are you doing, Danny? You want to skate? And I was like, you're home? Like, why are you home? I thought like you're in Georgia filming Ozark. He's like, oh, well, someone like got cast as my part as Scarecrow in Gotham, so I decided to come home and just shoot for like a couple days. I was like, that was me. I got the part in Gotham. You just stole your own part from me that I stole from you, and then you stole it back from me. What the heck? How funny is that?
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he got the production to let him come back to shoot Gotham, so he didn't lose his part on it. But I was already cast in it, and I was like, I stole the part from you, and then you stole it back from me. I was like,
oh my god, dude.
Bittersweet. Funny story.
Bittersweet.
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm like, well, good. Like, I mean, you deserve to do it. I'm glad that production let you come and do, because he was great at Scarecrow, man. But it was just such a funny story, and that is the epitome of the industry right there, man.
Yeah,
that is the epitome of the ups and downs and the love and hate.
And you can hate that person who got the job, or you can cheer them on, and you can call them a friend and a comrade, and realize that this is a relay race, and we're all here to lift each other up and shit.
And we're all in it together. Exactly. We're not. It's not. I don't really see it as a competition. I see it as a
rising tide raises all ships, man. It's an old saying that it stands true for this industry, and
we're all on the crew searching for the One Piece.
So come on, all our hopes and dreams.
I'm on episode like 378.
Oh,
right
good. So you're deep, man. You're deep.
I'm grinding, bro. I'm grinding.
It is a grind. It's a grind.
It's a grind. My friend's caught up with the manga and the show, and he's all caught up, and I'm like, oh my god, you're crazy, bro. Like, how are you caught up? I'm trying so hard.
I envy the fresh experiences of anime and manga that I've already enjoyed, but
everyone go watch One Piece. It will take over your life, but just go do it.
It's worth it. All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. We will have you back. Much love. Danny Flaherty, everybody.
Hey, man. Love you so much. Thank you so much for having me, bro. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
It's really a nice gift to be able to sit down and talk with someone who's doing this for real at a very competitive level and have them be as raw and honest and truthful about the process. And I hope everybody who's listening to this episode is not discouraged from what the reality of being an actor, an artist for life is. Danny has been doing this for, over a decade. He is one of the most talented people I know, and if you watch any of the roles that he is in, he commits everything he has to it, and it's just a reality of what it's like. It's not all Hollywood and lights, and your people are just calling you up once you've done one big gig. It's a struggle and a fight for most of us, and there's no job security, and a lot of it is luck, and I really am glad that we're able to paint a truthful picture of what it's like to be an actor and the reality for most people. So if you're in love with the art and this is something that means the world to you just to be able to perform, and you can't, not that you can't live without it, but it's so ingrained in you and you get such pleasure from it that you need to do it, then you're on the right track. What a privilege. What a privilege to call Danny a friend. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we will see you all on the next one.